on the deplorable condition of the Kisumu-Busia Road. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding a matter of inter-county concern, namely the deplorable condition of the Kisumu-Busia Road, which is in a critical transport corridor connecting Kenya to Uganda and other East African countries. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1. The immediate steps taken by the Ministry of Road and Transport to address the deplorable condition of the Kisumu-Busia Road, which is currently riddled with numerous and deep potholes that have been linked to a series of recent accidents, including details on the budgetary allocation for rehabilitation of the road in the 2025-2026 financial year, the scope of the planned rehabilitation works and the projected implementation timelines. 2. Whether there have been any ongoing maintenance contracts for the road, and if so, obtain information on the responsible contractor and the reasons for deficiencies in the maintenance works or delays in the execution of the contract. 3. The findings of all previous assessments of the structural integrity and safety of the Kisumu-Busia Road, as well as the status of implementation of the recommendations arising from the assessments. 4. The measures in place to ensure routine maintenance and long-term sustainability of the Kisumu-Busia Road, as well as other regional link roads in the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Second statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the utilization of money from the Equalization Fund in Bungoma County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the matter of county-wide concern regarding the utilization of the Equalization Fund in Bungoma County in the 2021-2022, 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025 financial year. In the statement, the committee should address the following. Whether the allocations for the marginalized areas in Bungoma County from the Equalization Fund in the year 2021, 2022, 22-23, 23-23, and 24-25 financial years were fully absorbed and strictly utilized to provide basic services in the water, road, health, electricity, and education sectors. 2. The identification process of all implemented projects, including whether each project was identified through proper needs assessment and community engagements in the targeted area, and if so, obtain documents for the same. 3. The measures in place to prevent duplication or double funding of projects by the county government of Bungoma and the national government, and whether the implemented projects were integrated into the county government of Bungoma annual development plan and the county integrated development plan CIDP. 4. Whether the selection of contractors and suppliers of goods and services for all the implemented projects complied with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. 5. The status of implementation of the projects, including details on whether each completed program was implemented within the original timelines and budget and attained its intended objectives. Whether each ongoing project is on course for completion within the original timelines, as well as the steps being taken to revive and complete all stalled or abandoned projects. Senator David Wakoli, MP, Senator for Bungoma County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Beth Siengo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Request for a statement on the non-functioning of vehicle scanners at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing on a matter of national concern on the operational status of security infrastructure at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, with a specific reference to the under-vehicle surveillance systems UVSS at the terminal entry points. Mr. Speaker, sir, JKIA is Kenya's busiest airport and a key regional hub, making it an essential part of the national security framework. At the terminal entry points, vehicles are expected to be screened using under-vehicle surveillance systems while passengers pass through metal detectors. However, it has come to light that several of the UVSS scanners are not operational, leading to overdependence on manual checks. While passengers are still required to alight and walk through scanners, vehicles are often allowed through with limited or no scrutiny. This situation presents a serious security risk and undermines the effectiveness of the airport screening procedures. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1. The reasons for the failure of the under-vehicle surveillance systems at JKIA. 2. The immediate steps taken by the Kenya Airports Authority to repair or replace the faulty systems. 3. The operational status of all security screening infrastructure at JKIA and other major airports, including Wilson Airport and Moi International Airport. 4. The existing policy framework for regular maintenance of airport security equipment and the measures in place to ensure redundancy in the event of equipment failure. Senator Beth Siango, MP, nominated by ODM in Broad-Based. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, before we proceed to the next order, allow me to make this communication. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation of 7 officers from the Institute of Economic Affairs, Kenya. The delegation is undertaking a study visit in Parliament. Now, honorable senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I'll call upon the majority leader and the 1 minute to extend a word of welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the House, I join in welcoming the team from the Institute of Economic Affairs into the Senate this afternoon as we transact business, Mr. Speaker. This is an institute that follows through on many of the public participations call for memoranda from the various committees of this House on matters that affects our economy. Their input has always been valuable, and their insight on many issues in public space, Mr. Speaker, provides great insight to members of our committee. So I appreciate that they have found time this afternoon to be with us. I hope as they interact with our members of staff, members of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, they will share even further insight, Mr. Speaker, and gain a deeper understanding also from us as lawmakers. I welcome them and do wish them well during the time that they'll be here this afternoon. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tom Ojwanga. Now, honorable senators, we will come back to statements. We will rearrange today's order paper and handle order number 8 and 9, and then we come back to statements. Clerk, kindly proceed to call the orders.
Order number 8, the Technopolis Bill, National Assembly Bills number 6 of 2024. Second reading, mover to reply.
The mover of this bill, you may proceed to reply.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank colleagues who spoke on this bill yesterday, and I think last week as well, because we began consideration of the Technopolis bill on Thursday last week. And I was particularly elated because there's a practice that is disappearing in this session of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, that is rather worrying. I don't hear, and the senators that have been here for a while know this, that this is a house of debate. And I know what people say from back in the day on particularly some of the legislations that have stayed on the corridors of Parliament for a while, like local content bill. If you ask me, Mr. Speaker, I know the particular views of senators that have served in this House. Over time, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, and this is particularly good that I say this just when you've stood down on provisions of Standing Order 53.3, I think, Mr. Speaker, that provision either need to be relooked at, Mr. Speaker, or suspended altogether. Because unfortunately, a new trend is emerging, Mr. Speaker, where you know the views of colleagues on various statements that are sought by their colleagues in the House, Mr. Speaker, which is equally important because that's business before the House. But immediately after the comments on statements, Mr. Speaker, you hardly hear people speak to bills in particular, Mr. Speaker. And I was very happy that many people, I think about 15 senators, spoke on this Technopolis bill and shared their insight, their thoughts on things that they think need to be done to improve and make Kenya a competitive country in the digital and ICT space, Mr. Speaker. I would wish to ask colleagues, Mr. Speaker, that Parliament is a house of debate, that it will reflect so badly 20 years after you have left this House, and people want to hear your views. And all the records of the House indicate that you are just commenting on statements. It is important that we take time, Mr. Speaker, to debate every bill that comes to this House and try. That's why I believe we publish the order paper way in advance, so that members can prepare, Mr. Speaker, say something on this bill, say on the other one. Senator Catherine Mumo, for example, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, at the rise of the House, was moving the e-cigarettes bill, a very important piece of legislation. Many of us are young parents that are young, and some of you are parents of children almost my age. We should be concerned as a country, for example, and it should reflect in your records eventually. What did you say when this particular challenge of e-cigarettes, some of them with very toxic substance, with very little regulation in that particular space, people will want to know, what did you say when that bill was before the House? And I listened to Senator Moma yesterday, Mr. Speaker, move with so much passion. I believe she does that because as a parent of adult children, she knows that even as she works for the country, it is for self as well that she's doing this. And that can be the case about many others, including particularly those that need to be interested more are the younger senators, those of my age, Mr. Speaker, who have younger children. And many of these laws that we pass here will affect, including the society, including your own children, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to urge that we do not lose a very important practice of putting our thoughts on the record of the House, Mr. Speaker. And eventually, even, if possible, try and file amendments. We have a very cordial relationship in the Senate, unlike our counterpart House. Hardly do we defeat what are they called, amendments that are filed by our colleagues. In fact, many times, a practice that has been set by our technical staff, if I have an amendment to the bill and Senator Ledama has an amendment that almost either disagree, they invite you for a conversation so that you agree on which will be the better way to handle that piece of legislation, Mr. Speaker. A very sacrosanct process that is buried deep in the roots of legislation in this House. From the time that I came, Mr. Speaker, that I have seen people frustrate, sit down, negotiate, bargain with each other until eventually they agree on a position. Hardly does the Senate vote along divided lines. We close ranks more often than any other House that you can think of, Mr. Speaker, because we convince each other with reason. And I want to appreciate that on each afternoon when there is an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to speak to any bill. If you see today's order paper, Mr. Speaker, there is a business, of course, that we'll consider at Committee of the Whole, which is also another important space. And I like the fact that there are colleagues who on many times you'll hear ask the movers of various amendments to perhaps convince the House. It's an important exercise. You'll recall at one time, for example, and I don't know who I was seated next to, Mr. Speaker, but during Committee of the Whole, many people don't appreciate. I don't know whether I should be saying this because it's a weapon, Mr. Speaker, that sometimes we deploy as House leadership when you want to fast-track certain businesses. But there's colleagues who know this, for example, Mr. Speaker, that at the putting of a question, it's a motion just like any other motion, which actually the House should debate and take a vote on. But many times, of course, given that there is hardly ever acrimony in the House on many of the proposals and the questions that are being put, Mr. Speaker, we just vote with a simple aye. But I have seen previously, Mr. Speaker, on contested bills before this House, if I recall back to history, when we did, for example, the IEBC amendment bill, if you remember, the one that switched the country from manual to electronic voter registration, almost every clause was contentious, Mr. Speaker, because those that were in the minority side tried to filibuster and find ways of wearing those that were trying to hurry that particular law, Mr. Speaker. And those are practices which we shouldn't lose as a House, and we should always seek to guide. This bill impressed me and helped me to reflect when I listened yesterday in the afternoon when members were contributing, Mr. Speaker. It helped me to reflect on the legislative processes of the House and why it is important at every space to participate. I've just risen a few minutes ago, Mr. Speaker, to contribute on welcoming the people from Institute of Economic Affairs. There are particular institutions, Mr. Speaker, that have been very, very consistent in their contributions to this House in the legislative making processes. When you consider any item, for example, at budget and finance, Senator Roba, and I want to believe that is a practice, almost on any bill that goes to that particular committee, Mr. Speaker, you will never miss memorandum from Citizens Alliance, and there's another one called Budget and Something Public Forum. Always making contributions and asking us as a House that please consider this. That's part of lawmaking. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that part of the improvement of our processes as Parliament and procedure that we are being called to in the last few months and years that Parliament has come under very serious scrutiny in terms of how we consider our work and the processes that we undertake in this House, Mr. Speaker, is how inclusive are we in considering the views of those that take the time to send memorandum to committees, Mr. Speaker. And this can only be informed by members reacting to those memoranda, because if you read to all these reports that chairpersons table before this House, including on this Technopolis bill, the report that is here, Mr. Speaker, you will see actually memorandum that was sent to this committee, Mr. Speaker, by various practitioners in the ICT space in the country, and how their views actually, they feel their views need to be accommodated. I wish it will be the practice in this House, Mr. Speaker, going forward, that members will even, apart from reacting to the bill alone, Mr. Speaker, they will also consider the submissions by members of the public who are most of the time industry practitioners in that particular space of the bill where you're practicing. If it's a bill, say on mining, you'll find people that practice in that space. They send memorandum to this House. And that's a very important part of the legislative making process, Mr. Speaker, because Kenyans are speaking to their representatives in this House, and they are saying, as you consider this law, please look back, reflect on this. Many a times, Mr. Speaker, people scan through the reports and go to the recommendations, perhaps on what needs to be amended and so on and so forth. I wish, Mr. Speaker, that we will always reflect and recall, Mr. Speaker, even the committee and the courts have tried, though much as I disagree with them, Mr. Speaker, we have almost been pushed to a point of being guided in a straitjacket manner, that even when members of the public submit memorandum, Mr. Speaker, and ask us to consider a certain proposal, that if we disagree with it, we are supposed to give reasons for every item. I don't know how practical that might be, Mr. Speaker, because we are lobbied in all forms and shapes, Mr. Speaker, including the people that speak to us in public forums, in weddings, in funerals, Mr. Speaker, in Harambes, empowerment forums. People speak to us on many things and they tell us this is not right. As lawmakers, include this or the other. I believe as an employee, because we are employees of the Republic, Mr. Speaker, we cannot dictate to our employers how they need to instruct us. Not all of them can write. Not all of them can put together an email, Mr. Speaker. In whatever form and shape they choose to instruct you as a lawmaker, Mr. Speaker, their views are important and need to be carried. I say that to say this to the House this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, that I wish we'd get to a point, Mr. Speaker, where we'd see more debate on bills like has always been the tradition of Parliament over the years, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to register my appreciation to the 16 members that spoke on this bill and wish that even further today, when any of us, whoever has a bill on the order paper today, Mr. Speaker, gets a chance, I don't know if it will be, I haven't had an opportunity to recall, Mr. Speaker, who exactly will get a chance to do that. But we take time to speak to those bills, Mr. Speaker, because those thoughts and ideas will reflect 100 or 200 years after we are long gone from this House and this world, Mr. Speaker, perhaps, and people will know that either we cared or what informed our decision making, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, I beg to reply and appreciate every senator that spoke on the Technopolis Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 66.3, I beg to request that the putting of a question be deferred until a later date. I thank you.
It is so deferred. We now move to order number 9.
Order number 9, the Tobacco Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 35 of 2024. Second reading, resumption of debate.
The interruption of debate yesterday, Senator Ledama had the floor and had a balance of 11 minutes. You may proceed. 11 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me appreciate the Majority Leader for reminding us on the importance of debate and the importance of paying attention to the kind of bills that we are discussing in this House. Mr. Speaker, as I rise to make submissions to the Tobacco Control Bill, it is imperative to note, and I hope that members of the Senate on both sides of the aisle will be able to remember that the last time that this bill was actually brought to this House was back in 2007. In 2007, Mr. Speaker, we did not have challenges of e-cigarettes. We did not have challenges of the younger generation now being used to be able to, make profit for these companies that manufacture tobacco. One of the biggest problems that I have seen, that I'm so glad that Senator Muma is trying to resolve when it comes to discussing this bill, is the issue of preventing the youth from being lured to smoke different flavors, where people will just be able to come in without stricter regulations, where in countries that people are exporting tobacco into this country, there are those stricter regulations. I was very happy to go through this bill. I happen to be a member of the Senate Health Committee. So we went through clause by clause of this bill and understood the challenges. There's an issue of profit versus health in this country. Yesterday we discussed the issue of the levels of nicotine. The good senator is proposing to this House that we control and limit the amount of nicotine in any nicotine delivery system or even in a cigarette from 20 milligrams to 10 milligrams. It is important to note that the industry is insisting and saying in their submissions, because I really hope that by the time we go into third reading, my colleagues will have an opportunity to read the Senate Health Committee report on this bill, because you'll see the submissions brought about by members of the public. You'll see submissions brought about by the industry, and you will be able to decipher what is important between the members of the public and the industry. And it's simply a matter of profit versus health. It is a matter of preventive versus curative. The other issue which is very, very important for us to look at it is that all pieces of legislations which were passed many years ago At some point, they will need to be updated. Because nothing is static in this world. Things change on a constant basis. We have this challenge of the e-cigarette. Yesterday, before we left, before the rise of the House, I sat down with Senator Muma, and it was very interesting that she had an e-cigarette where on the outside cover, on the packaging, it talks about the dangers. But the moment you remove the package and you toss it out, then you will find that the e-cigarette itself looks like a toy. Mr. Speaker, I've just been handed this, and it's imperative because we have the youth sitting here. You will see that in this cigarette, it has a big warning here, very big warning. But the moment you toss this away, then you are left with this. The youth will actually sit with this e-cigarette, and it looks like a rubber. And they'll continue vaping. Actually, it looks like a power bank as well. They'll continue vaping. But the dangers in it is something that all of us, must be alive to the fact that we are killing the younger generation. So there's a question that Senator Muma raises, and she talks about flavors. Some of us, when we were growing, we knew people who were smoking what they call keraiko. When that person comes in 20 meters, you will note that that's a smoker. But today, there's no keraiko anymore. Someone will be able to smoke a strawberry flavor, walks in, and you think that they just had a strawberry milkshake. And yet they are killing themselves. So those are the things that we are being invited to be able to debate and agree on how we are going to save the younger generation from being sick, from their lungs collapsing. Mr. Speaker, the good senator has raised one very important point in terms of, taxation. And this is an issue that we were agonizing on, because when we start talking about taxation, then we start discussing issues to do with money bills, which we know that the Senate, under Article 114 of our Constitution, it's sort of like in the borderline in terms of the origination of the money bills. It has to be from the lower house. But she talks about a very important thing which all of us must look into in this bill, so that by the time we go into the third reading of this bill, or the committee of the whole, the amendments that will be brought are amendments that will be able to enrich the bill, will be able to put up strict regulations, because it is imperative that all the taxes that are collected from the tobacco industry, either today they go to SHA, some of the money go to SHA, so that when you are taken to the hospital with your lungs having collapsed because of being a chain smoker, there will be money to pay for you, and that can come from there. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we discussed the issue of approval and testing. We agreed that it is important that we divide those two. Let the ministry approve, let KEBS test, so that we know whether what the kids are smoking is proper, and they set proper standards. Because I see my time is running up, let me reiterate that one of the things that Senator Muma we need to tighten is on strict regulations of the tobacco industry in this country. We must tighten strict regulations. We must make sure that, in fact, for me, I'm of the opinion that we increased the age of smoking from 18 to 21, such that if you're 21 years old, is the only time that you can be allowed to buy a cigarette. Number two, Mr. Speaker, advertising, it is important. Yesterday, when we were sitting in the committee, I remember the argument that we had with the majority leader in this House when we were discussing the gambling bill, in terms of how can you restrict online advertisement in cigarettes? How can you restrict people from gambling online? There's such a gray line in terms of allowing advertisement, restricting advertisement. That is something that distinguished senators, we have to agree on. And in my view, I still feel that warnings are better than trying to say there is no online advertisement. Because when you say there's no online advertisement, there will be IP addresses from all over the world. You cannot stop them. And the youth will still be able to get into. So we need, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I think it is important to be able to balance the economic concerns as well as the health concerns. It is imperative to be able to focus a lot on preventive rather than curatives. That is the only way that we can be able to develop legislation that can help, this population. So, Mr. Speaker, as I end, I would love to see a country where we less population smoke. And in fact, Senator Muma would say that in Kenya has almost adapted to an environment where people don't smoke as much. If you go to Europe, everyone almost smokes. So we cannot compare the laws in Europe and the laws here. We have to say we are going to be completely unorthodox when it comes to legislation making and look at what fits this economy, what fits this population. I'd love to say no advertisement. Let's ban advertisement. I'd love to say let's stop smoking. In fact, my dear sister, Senator Veronica, yesterday was saying she wished that she was seconding a bill that will ban smoking in this country. That is not the reality. It can never happen. So because people will smoke, let us figure out how do we balance these economic concerns, because it's about money. In fact, what I would even propose is that when it comes to growing of tobacco in this country, it should be zoned to a particular region. When you zone it in that particular region, you'll know it's only that area which people will be able to smoke. One of the last things that the ministry was proposing in their submissions during public participation was amending the bill to make sure that the bill controls both substances with nicotine and those without nicotine. And for those who understand that marijuana does not have nicotine, I think the ministry was also getting into that area of saying that we now come up with one bill to control everything to do with any delivery system of nicotine and non-nicotine substances. So as I conclude, let me thank the good senator, but I want us to be realistic in terms of balancing the economic needs of this country versus the health of the population. Yes, tobacco kills, but can we run away from saying that we will now force every citizen of this country not to smoke? Let us be realistic that some will smoke. So stricter regulations, let us tax, and all that money, in my proposal, Mr. Speaker, sir, should go to SHA so that it treats those people. Very little should be left to preventive. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill by Senator Catherine Muma, the Tobacco Control Amendment Bill 2024. A very important piece of legislation by our colleague, Senator Catherine Muma. This is for the history books, Mr. Speaker, like I had mentioned earlier, that should our colleague succeed to steer this bill through this House and subsequently to the counterpart House and provide clean, neat, and efficient coordination on the delivery, sale, manufacture, production of these products, Mr. Speaker, then she will have actually ticked the box, Mr. Speaker, in terms of being active legislators who are reacting actually to the demands of society as they arise. Because there are many challenges, Mr. Speaker, that come this day, which unfortunately as legislators, we sometimes don't react to. I know very little about smoking, Mr. Speaker, but I am a lawmaker. In fact, I must confess, Mr. Speaker, that I grew up at the time where raising a child was by the community. And therefore, one time as a 14-year-old had come the way of 5 Kenya shillings, Mr. Speaker. I went to a shop and bought a bar of cigarette. It was around 7:30 p.m. And I wanted to be cheeky just like any other teenager. No sooner had I lit it, Mr. Speaker, than a thunder of a slap fell on me from one of the neighborhood's elderly men. That up to date, Mr. Speaker, when I see somebody smoke, my cheeks twitch a bit, Mr. Speaker, when I recall that hard slap from that gentleman. And I have never tried again in my life. But I know, Senator Muma, that I'm a lawmaker, and we must do laws for those that smoke and those that don't. That the people who send me to this house to pass law Mr. Speaker, should not ordinarily fit into my taste and preferences. I must do law for them, including those that I do not agree with, and the things that perhaps I may not like. And this is why I find this piece of legislation from you to be quite ingenious of a legislator. I know Senator Muma is passionate about this topic, Mr. Speaker, because it's been more than a year, actually, that she has been hunting me on this bill and saying, please help me, we need to conclude on this issue. Are you not concerned? And she keeps on reminding me that you may not see it as a problem right now because your kids are way younger. But remember, in another 10 years, you may not have a luxury. You don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done something about it. Because the truth of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that there's actually drugs and substance that is finding its way into the hands of our children and society, Mr. Speaker, in the form of e-cigarettes, because of the lack of proper regulatory framework to govern that particular space, Mr. Speaker. And I like the fact that Senator Muma is very specific on this bill, that actually it's nicotine-related substance, including e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. These very cool things that young people carry in their handbags, Mr. Speaker, in their pockets, which ordinarily you may not even easily recognize to be a substance that can harm their health, Mr. Speaker. And they take it in a very nice, easy, and relaxed way in public fora, Mr. Speaker, in places where ideally, actually, they shouldn't be taking them. You know that smoking in this country, Mr. Speaker, is restricted to particular zones, Mr. Speaker, away from public spaces, Mr. Speaker. And that law is one of the most successfully implemented legislations as part and parcel of what Parliament does. I think that law was passed in 2007. And you remember the hue and cry that was around this town. Because previously, back in the day, if you recall, people would walk about smoking and doing whatever they want, even in the streets of Nairobi, Nakuru, whichever parts of the country, and they'll blow the fumes into your face until somebody, just another legislator like what Senator Muma is trying to do, Mr. Speaker, thought about it and said, wait a minute, this is not right. You cannot be puffing out fumes in a public transport vehicle, Mr. Speaker, in a library, in a shopping center, where there are young children, there are elderly people, there are people with health challenges, and they decided to restrict that particular space. And since then, up to date, that law is respected and applied in very strict consideration, Mr. Speaker, together with the fines. And I like that about work that has been done in this House, Mr. Speaker. You know, many times people speak and forget that Parliament, as an institution, has actually passed very progressive legislation over the years. It's only that on occasions where people disagree for whatever reason on a particular topic, Mr. Speaker, that they cast Parliament in very bad light and say, oh, it's the weakest link in our democracy and things like that. Yet I know so many spheres of our society that Parliament has actually successfully been able, Mr. Speaker, to give us legislation and good laws that have enabled us, Mr. Speaker, to live in a better country. That is just one such example. And therefore, I like this bill together with the provisions, Mr. Speaker, with the definitions actually that are being either altered, deleted, or added into the previous Tobacco Act, Control Act of 2007, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that Senator Muma actually expands the definition of what are tobacco products. That's very important, because in a litigious country like ours, where judges sometimes make certain decisions, and when you try to reflect back on it, you say, even if the language might have been a challenge, surely, was that the spirit and the object of what Parliament or the lawmakers intended? Because, Mr. Speaker, we've had arguments, including even on whether should have been an AM or a PM, while when you're reading that particular legislation, you can flow through and notice actually what was the intention of the House. And there are many times, I know in the Senate we may not have dealt with this, but I know there are many times actually that National Assembly, for example, especially in matters of tax, have been asked to provide more clearer definition, Mr. Speaker, on certain legislations that have been passed. And on account of that, people have gone to court, Mr. Speaker, to challenge the intention of the House. Even on an issue as simple as a date, a law that has been signed, Mr. Speaker, in January, then somehow, Mr. Speaker, in the reading and in the interpretation, maybe the fine print of the definition wasn't so meticulous, and you find that there's a way you can read it, Mr. Speaker, that will reflect to times gone by instead of times that are ahead, Mr. Speaker, and the courts have agreed with the petitioners. Therefore, this is important, the expansion of definition. And this is something, Mr. Speaker, that I want even our legislative drafting department to be keen about it. That nowadays, Mr. Speaker, given the country that we live in, definitions are extremely important. And it's important to expand, Mr. Speaker, and appreciate that in a country such as ours, we can lose very good intentions such as this bill, Senator Muma, on account of just a definition. I say that to make the point, Mr. Speaker, that it is not for lack of work to do, but it is out of the abundance of caution that actually these new phrases are being introduced into our bills where you're expanding the definition. Ideally, somebody will think and say, everybody knows that nicotine is a tobacco product, or things such as those. But on many occasions, until you provide it in black and white, as has been done in this bill, which include tobacco leaves and extracts, you know, Mr. Speaker, that you have to define even and say even the extracts alone is important, including actually synthetic formations, which is a substance such as what Senator Ledama was showing. Otherwise, somebody will easily argue and say that this is just an extract. It doesn't contain those things that you speak about. Additives also, Mr. Speaker, it's important because there can be argument about that what is a dominant product in this item. In fact, many of these vapes and the things that you're talking about, Senator Moma, 80% are actually non-harmful substance. It's just a cool smoke. I don't know how they are able to generate it. And the nicotine substance is a very small element or percentage of it. That's why it's very popular with young people. It is important the way you're doing, you're including actually additives that may be added, you know, which means a substance other than tobacco that is added to a tobacco product unit pack or packet, including flavors that are being defined, Mr. Speaker. There is definition also of the electronic cigarette, what it could mean, because it need not be, and I like part B of this drafting, that it is not a medical substance or medical device as defined in Pharmacy and Poisons Act. Why is this important, Senator Muma? Because the provisions of this act have previously been abused by people who consider that these are devices that are health devices. You know, in the administration of tax, Senator Muma, even on tax alone, definitions are very important, because when determining the coding for where an instrument will fall under, Mr. Speaker, it depends on what Parliament defined it as. Many of these devices can easily pass as medical devices, Mr. Speaker, if the clarity is not provided as is being done in this particular law. There are people who import, and they import it alongside other medical substances. And when they are packaged in whatever country of origin, Mr. Speaker, a simple collusion between the exporting country and the agencies here locally would easily pass some of these items alongside other medical devices, Mr. Speaker, and causing more harm or denying even the country revenue that will have been realized, Mr. Speaker, from the sale of this substance. There are more details that are provided deep down into the bill, Mr. Speaker, including manufacture or place, clause 14 particularly, Mr. Speaker, where the principal act is being, actually clause 14 of the principal act, which is being amended by clause 7 of the bill, Mr. Speaker, where a person shall not manufacture or place on the market, sale and distribution or use of electronic nicotine delivery system or refill container uses unless the conditions are being provided. The nicotine containing liquid is contained in a dedicated refill container not exceeding volume of 10 millimeters in a disposable electronic cigarette or in a single-use cartridge, and that the cartridges or tank does not exceed the volume of 2 milliliters, actually, not millimeters, milliliters. Then B, the nicotine containing liquid does not contain nicotine exceeding 10 milligrams per millimeter. There is need, Senator Catherine, the way that word is drafted, remember what I mentioned earlier about fluency in legislation. The way that word is written, somebody will easily confuse and think that it is one word. Yet I know for a fact that it is milligrams per millimeter. Yet the way it's written, you would easily confuse and think it's 2 words instead of 3. I have earlier spoken to, I need not repeat myself, on the need for us as a legislature to ensure that we actually provide clarity in all these bills. Otherwise, people can go to court and you know what is it that Kenyan judiciary cannot do, Mr. Speaker. If they have invented something called, what is it called? This one where if you're anticipating arrest, it's called an anticipatory bail. I'm struggling to recall other parts of the world that dishes them out so voluntarily. That if you know that you have committed a crime and you suspect that they may come for you, Mr. Speaker, you go and get it, and it's granted like ice cream, Mr. Speaker. I don't know about it, but just warning that we have to be careful about a particular thing. There is Part B of that clause 14, which speaks to an area which will be of concern to all the young legislators that are here, on the nicotine pouches, Mr. Speaker, that in the way they are made, those pouches should be child and tamper-proof and can be used without spilling their contents. Because the fancy way in which some of these pouches are made, Mr. Speaker, a kid, even walking with a father into a supermarket, Mr. Speaker, can easily pick them out and confuse them for a sweet or a lollipop, Mr. Speaker, if this is not properly defined, that the access to this content that is inside these pouches, Mr. Speaker, should be so difficult that a kid will struggle to actually access it. Otherwise, if it is just easy to access it, Mr. Speaker, and I hope, Senator Muma, that the health department, when approving the containers or these pouches where these substances are sold, will take that into consideration, considering and knowing full well, Mr. Speaker, that these are things that can be very harmful to children. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, Senator Muma, you did not mention, or perhaps maybe it's further down in the bill, and I may have missed it somewhere, into what changes you may want to bring into the Tobacco Control Board. Because that institution, if you remember when the Cabinet Secretary for Health was last year responding to question time before the Senate, I think it was Senator Manzo who had asked something on the administration of funds in the Tobacco Control Fund, in that tobacco fund, Mr. Speaker. And there were not very good vibes that were coming out of that particular statement. In fact, the minister said on the record of this House, and not just an ordinary minister, a minister who served as majority leader for 8 years. So he knew what he was saying. He said, I'm not satisfied with the answer that has been provided. This statement was prepared for me, and I only got to see it this morning. I will be unfair to you as a House if I just read through. Give me time to come back with a more comprehensive answer. I found that to be quite telling, Mr. Speaker, because when a minister raises alarm on how certain funds are being used, Senator Muma, perhaps at the committee of the whole, we may want to tie up that particular institution and ensure that those funds are actually used for the purpose for which it was meant. These businesses of creating a fund where you're only enriching a few fat cats at ministries, Mr. Speaker, who go for seminars across the world from this one to the other without implementing a single item of the things that they run from these conferences, must come to an end. We must put a capping on any of these fundings, particularly sink funds, like this one of the tobacco, where monies are realized from a particular product and they need to be used to either respond to the health challenges that arise from the use of that particular product, Mr. Speaker, or to teach citizens on the benefits or otherwise of this product, Mr. Speaker, then that is what it needs to be doing. It cannot be, Mr. Speaker, that you have a fund where if you check what has been their contribution into improving the livelihoods of citizens, Mr. Speaker, it's all about conferences and trips for those that have access to these funds, Mr. Speaker. You need to put a capping, Mr. Speaker. 85% I've always spoken of the genius of CDF and why CDF continues, and I say this fully aware of the matters that are before us, why it continues to be a darling of the citizens in terms of any public funds, Mr. Speaker. It is because of the capping that has been provided on how much you can use on administrative issues. 2.75% maximum. The rest, over 95%, actual work that can be demonstrated to citizens and says, these are your funds. If we don't have any better use of those resources, take it to the critical illness fund that we created under SHA. Because in any case, at the end of the day, many of the users of this product will eventually burden our public health infrastructure. Therefore, there is no harm, Mr. Speaker, putting those funds into public utility. But to be used, Mr. Speaker, to do the kind of things that I heard Senator Maanzo say on that particular fund puts to question so many other things, Mr. Speaker. And I hope when Cabinet Secretary Duale returns to this House, he will remember to bring us that response, because while we are actively considering this bill, Mr. Speaker, that is an item that need not disappear to us. I know even other things, colleagues, that in that institution, because they license, and Senator Muma, why we must rejig that institution, is that sometimes it is used to fight corporate wars, where when an entity wants to take domination of a particular product line, they use officers from that agency to either ban or frustrate the growth of their competitors, Mr. Speaker. And that case, or that incident has been recorded on so many occasions, Mr. Speaker, before us, in the media circles, and this is something that should be of concern to us. And therefore, I hope, Mr. Speaker, that because I know we will get the chance to consider all these things, we will reflect on how to administer that particular fund in this space in a better and neater way. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support and hope that we can improve on this legislation to make it better. I thank you.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute on the Tobacco Control Amendment Bill 2024. And from the onset, to congratulate Senator Muma, who serves as a member of Speaker's panel. This is a critical. Mr. Speaker, legislation is a moving target. If you have watched a movie called Moving Target or Hard Target, one of the leading lights in that movie, Mr. Speaker, is trying to get a perfect shot, but it gets moving. So in 2007, when our colleague, distinguished members of parliament, and I don't know, Mr. Speaker, you were serving then or not, because I was still fairly young then, that when they legislated, the challenge then was smoking in public, and whether public places could be considered to be smoking. So, Speaker, with the advance of technology, you have to appreciate that going into the future, we'll keep legislating on matters of technology, because these electronic cigarettes, e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, I remember when I traveled to the US a few years ago, I was honored to have dinner with one of the senior leaders in this country. And apparently, as we were having chit-chat, that senior leader continued smoking the e-cigarette, and we didn't realize until the smoke was coming out of his nostrils or the mouth. Then we realized, we asked a friend of mine, what is this? I think we were in the famous Manhattan Street in downtown of United Nations Street, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I don't want to name names, but of course, that person smoked, and we didn't find it odd because it was an e-cigarette. The only time we noticed is because of the flavor that was coming out, Mr. Speaker. And we became discomfort after some time. But I think I was also in the wrong company, Mr. Speaker, because a number of us were consuming hard substances that was not definitely soda or water or milk or juice, Mr. Speaker. And after that, when I went back to my hotel room in New Jersey, I had to do serious prayers via phone with my pastor for cleansing after being in that session, which I found it unholy and unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. Well, personally, Mr. Speaker, I've never smoked in my life, and I don't think I will, because of my strict upbringing and religious background, Mr. Speaker, is we have to do what we have to do. There are people who smoke, there are others who don't smoke. But my argument, Mr. Speaker, has been this, that where your right ends, my right also begins. And I think as we legislate, we want to bring decency, discipline within the public forum, Mr. Speaker. We can't legislate on alcoholism, the issue of cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, but I want to appeal and call upon parents that we cannot legislate morals, Mr. Speaker, you are aware. Sometimes values and discipline are instilled by the parents. So even as we legislate, we can't legislate values, we can't legislate discipline, we can't legislate morals, Mr. Speaker. So it behooves us as leaders, as parents, to always be on the lookout so that we don't need to legislate on each and everything, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on this, the e-cigarette, this issue of definition has been given very well. I remember, Mr. Speaker, there was a hue and cry of the consumption of shisha, Mr. Speaker, where people were consuming in public places, and I'm happy the Ministry of Health has given regulation on smoking of shisha, Mr. Speaker. And you know, one funny thing with these people who are taking hard substance, be it cocaine, nicotine, alcohol, smoking cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, few years down the line, they will start a M-Pesa pay bill because of lung cancer, Mr. Speaker, and they want to travel to India to receive treatment, Mr. Speaker. So even as we legislate on how to enable people who smoke or drink alcohol or use other hard substances, Mr. Speaker, they should also be sure that the same individuals will burden to 80% the health infrastructure and service in this country, Mr. Speaker. Because after some years, they will get sick because of throat cancer, lung cancer, Mr. Speaker, and after some years, they will go to online and start fundraising through M-Pesa and other platforms of online fundraising, even individual fundraising, because of lack and abuse of e-cigarettes and other. Mr. Speaker, I am in agreement with National Control Against Drug Abuse, NACADA, that the consumption age of alcohol in this country should be raised to 21 years. Mr. Speaker, I also propose, and I know the mover of the owner of the bill in quotes should consider that the smoking of e-cigarettes or any other form of smoking, including shisha, should be raised to 21 years, as has been proposed by NACADA, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have a society that is well-structured, a society that is this. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, noting the fact that this week we have a number of schools who are your guests, who are attending most of these sessions, that we should raise the minimum age of consumption of alcohol and drug abuse or the consumption of e-cigarettes to 21 years, Mr. Speaker. Even, Mr. Speaker, I know there were people that were proposing that the consent of sex should be reduced to 16 years, like some European countries, but also we should raise it to 21 years instead of 18 years, so that we can arrest children marriage, Mr. Speaker, another form of abuse. And I think the Sexual Offences Act, the intent, Mr. Speaker, so that the country can know, is to protect our future generations. It doesn't make sense when you are no longer there for the future of this country in most of the young people. Mr. Speaker, and therefore the definition and vapor and the product, I agree, we need to be careful. When I was growing up, somebody who used to smoke, you could tell them from maybe their lips, Mr. Speaker, the change of the color of their teeth, and also that smell, Mr. Speaker. It's called, with your indulgence, tobacco or glyco, as one of my colleagues has put it on. you could smell from far, and my grandmother used to use the hard one, the one that was being planted in the, and you know, in the past, Mr. Speaker, there was a lot of discipline. There was a certain age where people could consume alcohol, even in Samburu and other parts. It was only senior people with a particular age, and I know it's only Njurinjeke who are allowed to consume certain part of alcohol and even smoke the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. But unfortunately, everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, is smoking nowadays. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree that decency and moral should go back to where we are, because it was only, and I remember when I was growing up, they could get that tobacco dried in the sun, then they do the stuff and they smoke it, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you the pungent smell that used to come, you could not even sleep or even get an oxygen around you. But with this e-cigarette, the challenge is simple. It is easy to carry, Mr. Speaker. It has various flavors. If it is strawberry or vanilla, you will not notice, Mr. Speaker. So I think it is important that labeling. On the issue of taxation, because I'll just make 4 points to seed ground for my colleagues to contribute on the same. I think taxation is very clear. I think Article 114 on money bills, I think this matter has been legislated or interpreted by the Supreme Court. I think there is nowhere in the law that says Senate cannot legislate on things that concern even taxation. Because under Article 210 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, the imposition of taxation says Parliament shall legislate. The reading of Article 93, the definition of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, is the Senate and the National Assembly. And the principle of interpretation, Mr. Speaker, of constitutionalism and constitutional, according to one of my professors, Professor Mutaha Kangu, one of the leading lights of the drafters of the Constitution, is we must interpret the Constitution in a manner, in a cohesive manner. So you cannot tell us in Article 93, Article 210 that Parliament shall legislate on the issue of taxation. Then you go back and try and argue under Article 114 on money bills, Mr. Speaker. So this issue of, I agree on periodic review of taxation, progressive taxation. Of course, we don't want a retrogressive taxation, Mr. Speaker. I agree that even in their amendments, we must, in issue of periodic review of taxation, we can always look at finance bill that we normally generate. On the issue of advertisement, Mr. Speaker, I think we should ban the issue of advertising these things, Mr. Speaker. Even during watershed period, I know some people would argue from 10 the children are asleep, but the children of nowadays don't sleep. They fast, Mr. Speaker. They don't sleep because of the nature of our, you know, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, when we were young, we used to sleep by 6. And I was told by my high school teacher, the reason poor people have so many children is because they sleep early. And the only activity they engage, of course, the juries out there will understand. So I don't know, Mr. Speaker, with the current generation, there is television, there is Netflix, there is Amazon, people are watching, and you know, this YouTube, the internet is available. So you cannot say by 10 p.m. these youngsters are asleep. They don't sleep, especially when the schools are closed. So I think we should propose either more stricter, limit the watershed period, maybe between midnight and 4 a.m. in the morning, so that, of course, the Kenyan time, but you cannot also prevent on online advertising, Mr. Speaker, because when it is daytime now, it is night in America, or when it is night in America, it is daytime, and there is different time zoning. So I think we must be very strict, Mr. Speaker, in terms of advertisement, and also in terms, I remember on the NACADA, there were proposals on alcoholic control bill, Mr. Speaker. They said they needed to ban there were alcohol that were being sold with polythene bags and small. So I agree that we must limit the sale and the size of that e-cigarette, Mr. Speaker. And the issue of advertisement, I think we need to be careful. I know, Mr. Speaker, we need to balance raising of revenue. Maybe in Nairobi City County, the tobacco or individuals, Mr. Speaker, we are balancing between raising revenue. But I agree in the principle that you tax more luxuries over necessities. And that is why we tax more on alcohol, we tax more on cigarettes, because more are luxuries as opposed as necessities. Let us tax more the luxuries like e-cigarettes and cigarettes generally, and alcohol, Mr. Speaker, so that we can give tax exemption to necessities like bread unga, among other, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the third point I wanted to make is the issue of requirements. I think we agree with Senator Muma on the does not exceed 10 milligrams. I agree with this so that you don't, and the issue of health. I remember, Mr. Speaker, when the cigarettes, they used to have a prominent warning before 2007, and I think now, Mr. Speaker, even alcohol. I remember when we were growing up, there was a general, and you know, I want to, free of charge, Mr. Speaker, this is a free advice to owners of companies and even advertisement agencies. Be simple. They used to see before when I say, taska bahada ya kazi, with a lot of indulgence, Mr. Speaker. It was a simple, but it encouraged, Mr. Speaker, and it finished a lot of challenges. Even there was another advert in Kiswahili that was used about family planning. Familia bora, jamii bora. You know, let us use things that is easy to sell. So even I find it weird, Mr. Speaker, when you get some of these cigarettes, the warning, they are put it so small that you might need a kaleidoscope or a very magnifying glass to read some of those statements. It should be mandatory that selling and warning should be prominent, Mr. Speaker, and I hope I have seen in a number of removable sticker and many others. Mr. Speaker, number 4, I disagree that Cabinet Secretary have been given sweeping powers, and that is clause number 14C. I think giving one individual, Mr. Speaker, those sweeping powers for approval of sale or manufacture of e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, is giving that Cabinet Secretary concerned a lot of powers. I think what we should push for is the NACADA as a board to be given powers to approve and sell, manufacture, Mr. Speaker, and also so that NACADA should be given this power of approval. Senator, distinguished Senator Muma, that NACADA should be given opportunity to, let us not give powers to cabinet secretaries. You know, Mr. Speaker, I think in the principle of French Revolution, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you give one cabinet secretary, imagine a cabinet secretary who is too religious, he might decline in approving. And you know, we have even cults like Shakaola and many others. I've seen another one where I'm told that the husband and the wife should not sleep on the same bed, Mr. Speaker, or they should not, the children should not be fed. So if you get a cabinet secretary, God forbid, who doesn't believe in smoking, what will happen? And you know, this is somebody's business, they are Kenyan. So let us not give cabinet secretary a lot of sweeping powers. Let us give it to the board so that it is subjected. Even when you are being declined license, you can appeal, Mr. Speaker. Also on this, even advertisement, an approval process, let us give it to the board called National Control Alcoholic Board, or even another board. There are so many boards that can do it. Even we can come up with a board where Ministry of Health, Cabinet Secretary nominates, NACADA nominates, counties nominates, so that we have a balance, Mr. Speaker, so that Mr. Speaker, I saw there were issue of banning products by Tanzanian government of Kenyan products, Mr. Speaker. I hope they will include also the issue of e-cigarettes and selling among East Africa, Mr. Speaker. While the principle of banning businesses is not good because it is not good, it violates the East Africa trade protocols because we need to encourage each other. We need to interdepend. And you saw President William Ruto and President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the elder of East Africa, having a conversation of trade. So what Tanzania did is quite unfortunate because we live, Mr. Speaker, I know of senior government officials for Tanzania who their children are schooling in Kenya. So if you start creating boundaries like colonials did, Mr. Speaker, you might need to ban even them from getting the schools. I think what they should have banned, Mr. Speaker, is to ban the ill-behaved activists who went to disrupt their peace. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of this is banning because the cabinet secretary, can we put a board? So that, you know, there is unfair competition in business. You remember, Mr. Speaker, I was in a primary campus then, and there was a lot of hue and cry. I know Senator Katuri might have been around then. Mr. Speaker, and there were accusations that members of parliament were being taken by an agency interested with violating the tobacco bill. Then they were taken to Mombasa for retreat. And what came out was hue and cry. So we don't want, Mr. Speaker, to give it to one power so that they can abuse. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, is on the issue of advertisement, so that, Mr. Speaker, is on the issue of places. I'm happy that institutions of basic education, so teachers should be aware of this. I know there are a number of teachers who are accompanying students before us. Mr. Speaker, they should be aware. I know some of them might be smoking, Mr. Speaker. They should be aware that you cannot smoke in basic education training, places of worship, of course. Mr. Speaker, I don't think anyone would want to smoke in places of worship, unless that's a different place, because I know mosques and churches, people rarely smoke. The only smoke you are allowed is the smoke of Holy Spirit. Mr. Speaker, on hospitals, clinics, and other health institutions, I think it doesn't make sense, Mr. Speaker, to children's home, children care facility, children playgrounds, I agree. Mr. Speaker, what I found it weird is residential houses. So if the father and mother are smoking, what will happen to the children and they are living in the same room? How will we enforce that, Senator Muma? I think you will teach us. Or will the children be reporting that dad and mom are smoking, and therefore, I don't know, it's a bit dicey to implement that one. I don't know what you are thinking around it. Maybe when you do reply, you can educate us. Because I know parents who maybe, in fact, Mr. Speaker, when you go to some family homes, they even have a cabinet. They have prepared a cabinet where they stock hard substances that is not milk or water or anything that is near there. On public service vehicles, Mr. Speaker, I agree. On police cells, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if there is anybody who smokes in police cells. I thought cigarettes are contraband, because I used to chair JLAC and I was remanded in committee on a number of police stations, Mr. Speaker. I never saw it. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, allow me to support at that point. Thank you.
Before I call the next senator to take on the floor, allow me to make this communication. I'd like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from St. Mary Nyangwa Girls Secondary School in Embu County. The delegation comprises 60 students and 4 teachers were in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Senator for Embu County under 1 minute to extend a word of welcome.
Thank you, Bwana Speaker, kwa kunipa nafasi niweze kukaribisha shule ya ACK St. Mary's Nyangwa Girls kwa hii kikao. Yangu ni kusema wanafunzi mjifunze vizuri, kwa sababu hapa katika Senate unaona kama hapa upande hii kuko na msichana, hata kama ni mama ni senator na ambaye amesomea Embu County. Nataka nimhakikishie kama mtasoma vizuri, wakati mwingine ninyi mtakuwa maseneta na pia mtakuwa hata speaker na pia mtakuwa hata rais, lakini mkiweka mchezo hamtapata hizo vitu. Yangu tu ni kumkaribisha hapa. Mambo yetu katika Senate huwa tunaongea mambo ya devolution katika counties, vile pesa inakuja masinani. Kama wakati huyu maseneta wamepigania county zote 47, tumepata bilioni 415. Ndio mambo ya masinani, mambo ya agriculture, mambo ya maji na pia vitu zingine iweze kuwa kule masinani. Mambo mengine huwa tunachangia hapa ni vile kama cabinet secretaries wakishindwa kufanya kazi, tunawaleta hapa, tunauliza counties kazi inafanyika namna gani. Kwa hivyo saa hii mmekuta mbilo ambaye inahusikana na mambo ya vitu kama sigara, vitu kama hizo iweze kuwa inalainishwa, na pia mambo mengine amkukuta ni mambo ya dawa ya kulevya na pangi. Mjiepusha hizo vitu, na mkijiepusha wakati mwingine ni nyinyi leaders wa kesho. Kwa hiyo ni karibu Bwana Spika, najua unajua huko wakati mmoja wewe ulitembea huko ukiwa mgeni masuburi kwa ile ndio mbele. Ni asanti. Kwa hivyo mkirundi Embu County ndio mbele, mseme mmeingia pahali ambapo Spika anafanya kazi na maseneta wale wengine. Pia Bwana Spika, kwa dakika moja ningeomba hii senator aweze kuchangia tu, kwa sababu wale wachana wanafunzi waweze kuona ati hata hao wanaweza. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Mundigi, your request has been declined. Senator Tabitha Mutinda, you may take to the floor to contribute to the bill. While doing so, you may extend a word of welcome to the girls.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, my neighbor, Senator Mundigi, for the kind request. I also want to take this great opportunity to welcome you to this house. It's the upper house, the Senate. I'm a product of St. Anne's Girls Kyriare in Embu County. I pursued my 4 years there. The English that I speak, the excellency that I have, is from the great county of Embu. It's a county that when it comes to matters of education, it's very top-notch. I wish you the best. I wish you excellence. I wish you God's guidance. Respect your teachers and enjoy your studies. God bless you. Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by really thanking our colleague, none other than Senator Catherine Muma, for this great bill, Mr. Speaker, the Tobacco Control Bill. It's a bill, Mr. Speaker, that where we are as a country is really going to change a lot if we correctly implement the changes that need to be implemented, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in Article 1 or 2 of this particular bill, the definition of smoking has really been well defined, Mr. Speaker. And it has also gone to part 2, where it has also talked about the tobacco products. Mr. Speaker, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Kathy, I realized when I went through this bill that our focus was more on the e-cigarette, away from the traditional cigarette, if I would call it like that. The cigarette that has been in the market, that has been there for years. And she's trying to ensure that we legislate correctly and put regulations as far as the e-cigarette is concerned, Mr. Speaker. E-cigarette, Mr. Speaker, in my view, is the synthetic nicotine that has gone through a manufacturing process and that is also smoked in a digital, fancy, classy, modern way by a big market share, and that is the young generation. Mr. Speaker, Part 2 that says that synthetic nicotine formulations intended for use by smoking, inhalation, chewing. Part B has defined the e-cigarette, how it is put into the market. It is through chewing gums, it's through inhalation, sniffing, vaping, sucking, and it comes in forms of tubes, filters, Mr. Speaker, electronic delivery system, Mr. Speaker. And this is where the catch is, because with this kind of gadgets that are already in the market, that our young people are using, Mr. Speaker, you realize there is no regulation on these e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. They have flooded the market, they are already here, but they have no control. Anybody, even children as young as 10 years, have access to these particular cigarettes, have access and are able to easily, within their friendship circles, be able to show each other how to be able to use this, Mr. Speaker, which, Mr. Speaker, it has enhanced penetration of the product into the market massively with minimal control, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if this product is today allowed to continue the way it is, where it is today, Mr. Speaker, we will be allowing our children to continue accessing a product that not only affect them in the health manner, in terms of we know what cigarettes do or what nicotine does to the health system. It's very endangering. The sad part is that its accessibility to the young people is sort of 100% today as we speak. Mr. Speaker, as I looked at the bill, still clause 2, part C, talks about characteristics of flavors. And the bill has defined and talked about the issue of flavors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these products, when I've Googled them, I find that they have different flavors. For example, we have strawberry, we have vanilla, all those kind of sweet flavors. And these flavors are the ones that are bringing the desire, are also enhancing the young people to keep on purchasing these products, and also are making it difficult for the guardians and the parents to be able even to know if their kids are smoking. As compared to the old cigarette or the traditional cigarette, Mr. Speaker, if you smoke a traditional cigarette, definitely you can be able to have a feel of the air or smell of the air that this person was smoking something. But with the e-cigarette, because of the sweet flavors that are in place, it is very difficult for a parent or a guardian to even know if their kid has started indulging in this particular type of cigarette. And so in my view, Senator Kathy, this issue of flavor should be scrapped off. The e-cigarette should retain its traditional nicotine. The e-cigarette should have that original smell of the nicotine so that it becomes easy to be able to identify when these young people are smoking these products, or even those adults that are smoking, because we've seen adults who are also changing from the traditional nicotine to the e-cigarette, and it becomes sometimes difficult for even someone to be able to identify that this person is actually smoking anything. So the flavors, the bill should actually allow that these flavors should be no more, should not be actually allowed to be part of the product that is in the market, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I continue, there is the other issue of regulation. Today, as we speak, the traditional cigarette has regulations. The act is very clear, actually. There is a ban that you cannot buy just one stick of the cigarette. You have to buy it in a full packet. It's never sold as a single stick. It is sold in a full packet. 2, it is not just sold anywhere. It is sold in a designated, like when we go to the supermarkets, you find that it is in just one area for above 18, where there is alcohol and cigarettes are put there. That's where they are actually secluded. They are put in a different place. These are some of the regulations that are in place. So the regulation for the e-cigarette should be a different regulation. There should be regulation in regards to the e-cigarette separate from the traditional cigarette. These regulations should be separated, because those years when we did the Tobacco Act, the e-cigarette was not in place. So we cannot assume and say the same regulations that are in place for the traditional cigarette should be the same that should be used for the e-cigarette that is in place, Mr. Speaker. So they have to have the synthetic nicotine and the traditional nicotine need to all have their own separate regulations, because they are different products. As much as the end product is nicotine, but the placement or the way the product has been packaged is very different. So it can't have similar regulations. Part 6, Mr. Speaker, Section 12 of this bill, Part A, Part B, talks about implementation of tax policies where appropriate, the prices, the policies, tobacco products, and all that. Mr. Speaker, when I looked at these 6A, 2, 3, and 1, talks about the issue of taxation. And I would prefer, or I would advise, my opinion would be, that the issue of taxation be dealt with by Treasury. If room is opened in terms of the amount of nicotine milligram per milliliter, that there be different, taxations, then there might be corruption that might be brought, whereby the manufacturers might be able to indicate a lower milligram so that to pay lesser taxation, but in the real sense, probably it is on a higher level. So when it comes to the issue of taxation of the policies and all that of the e-cigarette, let National Treasury be able also to guide with the same guidance that they have also done as far as the alcohol products are concerned, because of course there is a way, there is a policy that is in place currently. Definitely is a policy in regards to the traditional nicotine. So as far as this e-cigarette, let it not be so separate from how things should be, or how National Treasury has been doing and advising as far as the issue of taxation is concerned, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I continue to read the bill, I came across the issue of the product approval and testing, Mr. Speaker. And the mover of the bill, Senator Kathy, talked about that Ministry of Health does the approval, the testing, and all that. But in my view, Mr. Speaker, the testing of nicotine, the standardization should be done by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, Mr. Speaker, because they are the ones who have the machinery, they are the ones who have the technical know-how, who have the skills, who have the personnel to be able to guide when it comes to the issue of the standard of the e-cigarette, Mr. Speaker. Then there is the other point when it comes to approval by the ministry. That is okay, Senator Kathy, that would make sense, because after the standards have been done by KEBS, who are mandated to guide in terms of the standards, then that should now be approved by the ministry. The ministry now will be left with the issue of just approval, but not with the issue of testing, Mr. Speaker. And further to that, I saw on, this part is which one, Mr. Speaker? It's, I saw a 50% of the amount that is going to be paid for either testing or approval. Yes, Part 4. Part 4 ADA, 50% of the fees paid for testing and approval for products under Section 14E. Now, in my view, Mr. Speaker, today we have budget for the Tobacco Board that is provided for by the National Treasury, and not in small amounts, billions, Mr. Speaker. And this money, or this fund, is used to for awareness and all those kind of things, and we really do not see much happening. And from where we are, we know the disadvantages of smoking, we know the disadvantages of tobacco, we know the health issues that come also with smoking, Mr. Speaker. What am I trying to say? Mr. Speaker, the 50% that the sponsor has suggested, that is the fee that is being paid for testing or approval, now, an amendment should be which suggests that this 50% can be added to SHA as a health insurance fund, but narrowing it to the cases of either lung cancer and things like that, that the diseases that are brought about by smoking, Mr. Speaker. This fund will be able to help that the people who become sick, get the effects of smoking and all that, this fund can be able to help them in their health, whatever sector, instead of this money again be given to the board for them to keep on doing an awareness that we don't even no longer see. We don't even know what they really are doing. Because even when the e-cigarette came into the market, we've not seen the tobacco board do anything. We've not seen them come out, talk about it. They've not seen them giving guidance to the young people as far as the effects of this tobacco is concerned, Mr. Speaker. So this 50% should be added to share so as to be able to help as far as the funding for the health insurance is concerned, Mr. Speaker. The other thing I noticed, Mr. Speaker, is on the nicotine volume levels. Yes, part 14B. A person shall not manufacture or place on the market nicotine pouches unless nicotine content of pouch does not exceed 10 milligram and such. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the mover on this, because 10 milligram per milliliter of nicotine is a small amount. But when this amount is more, it's a lot, then it will make the smoker be able to, inhale more, and actually by the end of the day will have inhaled a lot than maybe he or she intended to. But when it is at 10 milligram per milliliter of nicotine, then it is a lesser amount. The cost, of course, will be high because the manufacturers will have to package it at that 10 mg. And then, so the cost of production will also be high. But who are we taking care? We are taking care the end user. So the cost is higher. So you find that the purchase will also be minimized. Unlike when it is more, when it is 20 and above, you'll find that the cost definitely will be minimal, Mr. Speaker. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the regulations as far as the pouches are concerned. The pouches that are being used should not be disposable, because disposable products will be easy to find in the market. The cost of a disposable material is less, so it makes the product even lesser. But non-disposable are expensive. So the higher the cost of this particular product, the lesser the accessibility to market. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of hawking, the issues of online sales, the issue of advertisement. As we speak today, the Tobacco Act is very clear that tobacco should not be advertised. It's against the law. So what makes it different with the e-cigarette, which still has nicotine? It should not be advertised. There should not be online sales. There should not be hawking of this particular product, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, we will not be sorting the problem. We will be encouraging the young people easy access for this product, online delivery and all that, Mr. Speaker, for this particular product. It should be restricted the same way the traditional cigarette right now as we speak is very restricted. The smoking areas, Mr. Speaker, I've seen, she has stipulated very well. We don't smoke in the public, churches, even here in this particular chamber. It doesn't happen. There are designated places and areas. The same should apply. Because we see on the road, you're walking in the streets of this beautiful country, the capital city of Nairobi, the one that I represent, Mr. Speaker, and you see someone removing a small, beautiful, nice gadget that looks like a lip gloss for us ladies. Someone sniffs something, puts it back, and just what you just sing on the air, Mr. Speaker, it is smoke that is just left on the air. So the areas for smoking should be adhered to, should be designated as required. And so I think with those many few remarks, I hope I haven't, yes, let me finalize on the issue of NACADA. I agree with what Senator Cheryl Guy spoke about in terms of NACADA. All these things should not be left to the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health has a lot to do. We have the issues of share that are happening. We have the killings that are happening in Kenyatta National Hospitals, which we are totally condemning, and many other things that the Ministry of Health, as we speak today, is trying to streamline, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I had a statement trying to question whereby we have the county staff still working in their private clinics. The DHA should be in this public hospital, and they are paying their salary. So that work should be some responsibilities, some duties should be done by NACADA board. They should be there to be able to assist in terms of ensuring that these policies are implemented. I know this bill coming from the Senate, there are county issues whereby the county offices should be able to have offices that help in the licensing. That is also revenue to the counties, and also it narrows down as far as at the county level is concerned. With those many and few, Mr. Speaker, I fully support and congratulate Senator Kathy for this great bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next is Senator William Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise and support this particular amendment bill, tobacco control bill by Senator Muma. Honorable Speaker, I know you and myself are not, we have never smoked, my dear. We are not smokers, maybe something else. I just wanted to say that, you know, in the past, 80s, 70s, when we were very young children, 80s when we were in primary school and high school, and even in the university days, Honorable Speaker, you know, smoking was, actually, it was almost like not there. You would see one or two people smoking. When we were in primary school, even in high school, even our teachers who used to smoke, you would never see them smoking. Maybe in the staff room or whatever. But I don't know what has happened of late, Honorable Speaker, that this thing has become almost fashionable for people to smoke, and especially this new one now called e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker, which is endangering the lives of our youth, Honorable Speaker. You know, the regulations that are already there in place is for the traditional cigarette that we used to see. There were two companies within the country that used to manufacture cigarettes before we got the imported ones, Honorable Speaker, and regulations were put in place to ensure. We want to thank that particular member of parliament, Honorable Speaker, who came up with that particular law where designated smoking areas are put across. You go to CBD, you'll see 2 or 3 places designated for smoking. You can't see just people smoking on the streets. There used to be a lot of cigarette filters all over the towns and cities in this country before that law came into effect, Honorable Speaker. So this particular law then is coming now to regulate the e-cigarette that has not been regulated, Honorable Speaker, and especially in terms of selling. I agree with my colleague that, you know, Senator Muma has now come in to redefine, to give a proper definition of smoking and many others, especially in the advent of this e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I know it's not easy to, legislate morals, but there is a way that we can legislate at least to reduce or to minimize the use of these products, Honorable Speaker. If you check, Honorable Speaker, on clause 4, where my colleagues have said 50% of the fees for testing should be put in a particular fund, even if it is share, so it can go into the critical illness, Honorable Speaker, or even prevention. We should not just target to say these particular funds or resources, when we get them, it should not target just strictly those with diseases related to smoking, but we should also target it to other areas. Look at the NACADA. We're talking about NACADA, Honorable Speaker. NACADA was formed to sort out issues with drug abuse, with cigarettes. But if you go across our towns, especially in the villages, Honorable Speaker, you will see mushrooming of sale of second generation of alcohol across the country. I was very surprised this last Sunday, Honorable Speaker. We had to destroy a lot of crates and bottles of Janga and second generation alcohol. This is just pure ethanol, Honorable Speaker, that should not be in the market, Honorable Speaker. So these particular resources should be channeled to ensure that basically those associated, we can support share in this particular area by giving them resources, so that those who come up with chronic diseases related to this, either alcohol or cigarette and e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker, should be assisted. Mr. Speaker, I also want to discuss clause 4C, Honorable Speaker, clause 14C. A person's just hold on, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is something that I saw here that catch my eye, Honorable Speaker, that we need to look at it. Sit clause 6, Honorable Speaker, clause 14J, Honorable Speaker of the bill, that a person shall not produce or supply tobacco products containing vitamins or additives that create the impression that a tobacco product has an health benefit or presents reduced health risk. Honorable Speaker, you know, these are the additives that the flavors of the e-cigarette. You know, these manufacturers, they put in some sweet additives to attract the youth, to attract the smokers, to say, it's nice, it feels nice to smoke and inhale this particular. So this, we should completely ban any additives that will be put, any flavors that will be put in the e-cigarettes and even the other cigarettes, so that the smoker knows this is the original flavor, this is how this thing is, and they should know the dangers that are involved with this particular e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we also, online, when you go to online sales, there is no particular restriction on age. You know, when they advertise, it's not sold to the people below 18 years. But, Honorable Speaker, when the youth buy these things online, there is nowhere in the application where age is indicated. So we need to ensure when online applications are developed to sell either alcohol or cigarettes and e-cigarettes, there should be a mandatory age field, so that if both age and ID, so that if somebody doesn't have an ID or below 18 years, the system should not allow them to procure these things online, Honorable Speaker, because this is where the danger is. I know currently, in the current status, alcohol and cigarettes are sold maybe in supermarkets in a restricted area, and the shops are not open until maybe 10 a.m. up to around 11 p.m. But also, we need to ensure that these cigarettes, as colleagues have said, we can push the time, especially in terms of advertisements, maybe during the watershed period, which you said maybe 10 to around 6 in the morning. We can push it to midnight, to around 4, because as it's been alluded in this particular house, Honorable Speaker, the youth now don't sleep like ourselves. The way we used to sleep by 8 or 9, then you wake up at 5 or 6. They sleep late. They are online all the time, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this watershed period should be reviewed so that, Honorable Speaker, these particular adverts are done within the times that we believe everybody is asleep, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, clause 15 of the bill, subsection 33 of the Principal Act is amended by, Honorable Speaker, the areas, the mover of the bill, or the sponsor of the bill, Honorable Speaker, has given us the areas where e-cigarettes will not be smoked, Honorable Speaker, and this is right. Number 1, institutions of basic education and training, places of worship, hospitals, clinics, and other areas, children's homes, childcare facilities, residential houses, and other premises where children are cared for. So this is Senator Muma, this is where it is tricky. You know, so residential areas, as colleagues have said, you know, there are parents who are smokers. So how will we enforce this particular clause? You need to relook at this and maybe reward it, because maybe if people are smoking and they smoke at home, you don't know, there is no one to police them. It's the choice. You know, it's the right. You know, the people also have their own rights, Honorable Speaker. Public service vehicles, which I believe this one has been enforced on the traditional cigarettes, public passenger vehicles, school buses, vans, commercial passenger vehicles, commuter boats, various and the others. Police cells. I think we should also bring here, I've seen prisons also. I know prisons is there. Smoking is prohibited in the following areas except in designated areas. Maybe this is because of maybe the employees, but I believe prisoners, while in prison, the right to smoke, they may not have that right, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a progressive bill. We need to support it. And while supporting it, we need to find a way of increasing the capacity or building capacity for NACADA, because NACADA has been here for a long time, but the effects, we still have a lot of issues with addiction, both alcohol, both cigarettes, and even drugs, Honorable Speaker. You go across all our towns in the country, Madam Honorable Speaker, the consumption of alcohol, the abuse of alcohol is very high, Honorable Speaker. That's why we are saying NACADA need to build capacity. They need to have officers across, even up to constituency level. I don't know, it's like at the current moment, they're only at the county level. And they are not able to assist our youth because, maybe because of resources. But I believe with the passage of this bill, they should be able to get additional resources, build capacity, employ more youth, because we have a big problem of unemployment. So basically, we need to use, we can even use volunteers, Honorable Speaker, and apart from that, they also need NACADA, in conjunction with the county governments, set up rehabilitation centers across all our county headquarters, both for male and women, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on regulations, I also agree with my colleagues that we should not give too much powers to the CS for L to do basically regulations. We let us empower NACADA to do regulations. Let them be the ones issuing licenses, so that, my Honorable Speaker, so that they can get additional resources. If NACADA decline a license, at least the business community will have a second level to appeal to the CS to review the reasons why they have not been granted the license, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to say that we need to urge ourselves as a country. We need to do a reflection. What is it that we are not doing right that our youth are engaging in this serious and dangerous act of overindulging, both in drugs, both in alcohol? And it was not like this before. We need to talk to our religious leaders. We need to go back. We need to go back to basics. Can we go to our churches? Can we go to our mosques? Can we go to our tabernacles and talk to the youth? The need to go back to basics, and then we follow, we get good values, so that at least we don't lose generation. Because with this trend, Honorable Speaker, we will, in the near future, may not have a generation who will come after us and build this great country called Kenya because of addiction of alcohol, addiction of cigarettes, and this particular one called E. You can imagine this is not nicotine. I thought nicotine is banned in Kenya. Well, you know, when we prescribe small quantities, slowly, you know, they can say it is 10 milligram, but in real sense, what they are packaged could not be that 10 milligram. It could be more, because we will not have the policing to go and check every cigarette. And you know the way Kenyans are very innovative. As soon as a product is out in the market, you will see a lot of counterfeit of the same product, but very dangerous product that can kill. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support.
What did you say, Senator Kisang?
I said, thank you, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Next is Senator Wakiri Hilali. Kiprotich Sigei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was actually expecting the Honorable Senator Kisang to confirm that the statement he made was by default owing to the presence of Senator Mutinda standing next to the Speaker. But nonetheless, I believe that was sorted out. I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to this very important and timely bill. I would like to appreciate Senator Catherine Muma for taking her time, doing the research, and pushing through the system to make sure that this timely bill is published and has now gotten an opportunity to have it debated in the floor of the House. This is a very timely bill, and Senator Catherine Muma, it is a confirmation of the interest and the attention that you have personally taken to make sure that despite the challenges that we have experienced as a country, as a global world and village, there is need to still fight out to make sure that though there are so many possible protests and challenges as against regulation of this particular product, there is still a window like what we are trying to do by this legislation to regulate in order to protect the future generation, not only of our own generation here in Kenya, but beyond. And Mr. Speaker, the Tobacco Control Act was first enacted in the year 2007, and it was reviewed in 2012. We are therefore, Mr. Speaker, talking about a period of over 10 years. That 10-year period, Mr. Speaker, has definitely given into so many changes in terms of value system within the society, in terms of the exposure of our generations, the young ones, including the availability of the changing trends in market and marketing for products, which products include tobacco, the traditional one, and of course the present product that is nicotine and other such related products, which previously the law did not regulate in any way. And this bill, Senator Catherine Muma, I tell you, is timely, is something that we have got to run through it, if possible, within the legislative system of this House, as well as the stakeholders, who I know, as you stated yesterday while you are moving the bill, indicated that there is definitely going to be a lot of marketing as against the passage of these amendments. I know we still have got a good number of good souls and Kenyans who will definitely support such an informed amendment to the law. It's also not lost that the government over time has enhanced the enforcement of the existing law, only that sometimes, notwithstanding such laws being in place, there are gaps whereby even though there are certain proposed enforcement, there is a possibility that not every effort is to achieve the desired intentions by the enforcing government. And Mr. Speaker, alive to the fact that there is of course a decline in the market in the use of the traditional product of tobacco smoking by adults, there is an enhanced utilization of the emerging products, which are nicotine products, vapes, or such related. And it's not because of anything, it's because of what I said. There is changing trends in values. Marketing is also all over. And beyond that, there is also the packaging, which is not highly regulated. And so the effort by this bill is to make sure that we advance at least some regulation, especially in this emerging utilization of product, nicotine and related products. Mr. Speaker, specifically now to the provisions of the bill. First of all, Senator Catherine, I believe that mostly the introduction of the various amendments which you've made will also expand to align most of them to the various definitions of the Constitution. For instance, under the various clauses starting from clause 5, there is a general reference to the minister. In this case, That will mean, therefore, we have got to seek to amend to reflect what a minister currently is, being a cabinet secretary. That's running all the way from clause 3. I've picked from clause 3, clause 5, clause 8, and henceforth. But specifically, for example, the provision which you've proposed to amend clause 8, section 8, that is clause 5. Section 8 in the Principal Act. And Mr. Speaker, it is not going to be possible to debate and make certain proposals on this particular bill without cross-referencing it with the Principal Act. And I'm very alive to the fact that these several proposals have actually been cross-referenced. When you look at the provisions of Section 8, Section 8 talks about a fund, of course, which this is the tax pricing and policies on the market or on licensing of this particular product. And I believe the introduction of clause DA, where the proposed amendment seeks to ensure that there is need for publication of an annual report for purposes of ensuring research, advancement of certain programs, as well as creation of an impact of such particular programs. This way, Mr. Speaker, I believe once this amendment passes, if an institution that is mandated to run these programs is required equally to publish the report, we'll be able to have action points. We will be able to know that following the provisions that have been done by this institution, certain action points were made if they were enforced. And this is the one that will support the government to ensure that enforcement achieves certain proposals which have been made, and of course in terms of ensuring that it achieves the intended purpose. That is a welcomed proposal, and we will be looking at how would the institution enforce the proposals which have been made by such publication of regular or periodical reports. The proposal under section 14, which is clause 7, on the Principal Act, clause 7 is on the conformity of the requirements. The introduction of amendments, or rather new subsection 14A, running all the way to 14J. Yes, running all the way from 14A to 14J is a welcome move. And Senator Muma, this is very important because the Principal Act does not reach out in terms of its provision as to the consequences of non-conformity with the provisions of the Act. And under 14A, the quantity and the content of the nicotine in a product is provided for here, such that if there is a product that has been marketed and it doesn't meet the provisions it didn't provide in the previous law, and now the introduction of 14A will make sure that this is achieved, and therefore the marketing of such a product or the manufacturing in itself will be required to have complied with the provisions of 14A. 14B talks about the packaging or manufacturing for purposes of marketing these products. And this is where I believe it's the gist of these proposed amendments, because we are talking about under 14B, that is the pouches that are supposed, or rather a person shall not manufacture or place on the market nicotine pouches unless such pouches are child tamper-proof and can be used without spilling their contents. Beyond that, the provisions henceforth ensures that we protect the young ones. We protect our children from being availed products which they can misuse, especially because of their age. Approval of tobacco products, information to be contained in the request for approval is a welcome proposal. And in particular, the proposal under 14E on the submission and testing of samples. Samples will be required to be availed, to be tested, and if they meet the quality, that is the only time that they can be licensed to be placed in the market. And it therefore means the control is enhanced to the extent that whatever is permitted to the market has already gone through the procedures that allows it to be utilized or to be placed in the market for sale. 14F talks about a period within which the Cabinet Secretary is required to communicate in writing to the decision that the minister has made in a request for approval for a product to go to the market. The provision that is seeking to have the minister have 90 days, this is for Senator Catherine, 90 days seems to be a bit long, especially if the application is by someone who is a manufacturer. I propose that you consider amending that 90-day period to a lesser period for purposes of ensuring that whoever has tried to manufacture this product wants to take it to the market is allowed to maybe enhance the quality or quantity or packaging to comply with the law, and 90-day period will be a little bit longer. Similarly, the punitive the creation of an offense under 14G for someone who contravenes the provision of the section, 1 million or 5% of the person's gross turnover, to me, is a bit lenient. I propose that you enhance this to make it more punitive, because what we are desiring in this law is to ensure that we restrict as much as possible this product to go to the market, because once it's out there in the market, the control mechanism is not as easy as it is attempted by the law. The requirement that Cabinet Secretary to ban such product which does not conform to the market, to the requirements of the Act, Senator Catherine, should be compulsory. Please amend to reflect that the Cabinet Secretary shall ban that product if the product does not conform with the requirements of this Act. If you allow the discretion, that discretion can be misused, especially because of what we all know to be the trend in terms of the resource mobilization that the manufacturers, marketers, or traders in this particular kind of business can do. Under the requirement of Section 14J, this is what it provides: a person shall not produce or supply tobacco products containing vitamins or other additives that create the impression that a tobacco product has a health benefit or presents reduced health risks. This is a very good provision. And I want to agree with colleagues who've said, if there is a way in which we can completely ban additives or flavors in this particular product, the better, because the more the flavors, the lesser the possibility of even appreciating that someone is smoking. Because we are looking at how we can support our young ones. If the flavors can distort the smell, can distort the appreciation by an individual of someone smoking, I would rather even we amend this law to completely ban the flavors of the products which are allowed to be put in the market. Mr. Speaker, under the provisions of the proposed amendment to Section 15, Section 15 of the Principal Act, Mr. Speaker, talks about the age limit being a youngster who is not an adult, be someone below 18 years of age. The proposed amendment, which seeks to delete subsection 5 and substitute thereof, does not specifically make reference to the period, or rather the age of 18. I propose that that be introduced, but more importantly, in this particular proposal, the Principal Act, which I propose for Senator Muma to relook at, is to ensure that the Principal Act provision under Section 15(2), that talks about a fine that can be levied on someone who has sold tobacco product or nicotine products to a child of age 18 and below, is only liable when found guilty to a fine of 50,000 and imprisonment of 6 months, not less than 6 months. This is a very critical provision, because if one can sell 6 months or 50,000 is too minimal a fine that will not in any way be a deterrence at all. And those who are involved in this market have resources, they have sufficient resources, and they will definitely sell to the young ones, knowing very well that if at all they are got up with the law, they can just walk away by paying 50,000 fine, and sometimes even making sure that they intentionally do it because they want to market their product, they want to sell, they want to make profit, and they wouldn't care because 50,000 Kenya shillings as fine is not punitive enough to be a deterrent to those who are trading in this market. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, as I said, this is a timely amendment to the Tobacco Control Act 2007, and I support and request that additional proposed amendments which have been proposed by members be put in place to ensure that this achieves the objective that we're looking at, supporting and making sure that we protect the future, because the future is the young people who are actually highly targeted by this market product that we have, which we are seeking to control. With those very many remarks, or very few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support and I want to once again applaud Senator Muma for this particular amendment. I thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, next is Senator Moses Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the amendments to the Tobacco Control Act as proposed by Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the global dynamics of regulation and control of e-cigarettes across the world, Africa has been a free-for-all. It has been a market where anyone can come in with electronic cigarettes, anyone can distribute them, and there are no regulatory barriers. There are no strict regulatory requirements. As a result, Mr. Speaker, our children have found it easier to access e-cigarettes, much more easier than it is to access the traditional cigarettes. It is becoming a serious problem, and those of us who are parents, sometimes we hear stories in boarding schools that children are sneaking in with e-cigarettes. They're very difficult to detect. They do not emit the traditional smoke. You know, in the old days, if you had some naughty boys smoking cigarettes in the toilets, the pungent smell of the cigarette would call in the teachers immediately. But with e-cigarettes, it is very possible for people to smoke, for children to access these products without consequences being meted upon them. Mr. Speaker, Senator Muma has made proposals to ensure that electronic nicotine delivery systems are regulated and that advertising of tobacco products is regulated and that the sale of tobacco products, including electronic nicotine delivery systems, to persons under the age of 18 is prohibited. And further, Senator Muma has proposed that these electronic nicotine delivery systems should not be manufactured, distributed, imported, or sold in Kenya without the prior authorization of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for health. Mr. Speaker, this is necessitated by the current situation where the markets are open and anyone can bring in these electronic nicotine delivery systems without paying taxes, without their quality being vouched for, and without the health impacts being looked at. Mr. Speaker, there are countries that have placed outright bans on electronic nicotine delivery systems. One such country is India. India has said, no, we are not going to subject our population to this novelty. Another country that has put in very tight restrictions is Australia. And in Australia, some of these electronic nicotine delivery systems are classified as therapeutic solutions, such that to access them, you will need a prescription, and you can only access them from a pharmacy. Other countries, Mr. Speaker, have imposed a blend of restrictions, ranging from age restrictions, ranging from advertising restrictions, and even content restrictions. In Kenya, we have not had any restriction whatsoever. And so it has been a wild, wild west when it comes to abuse of this novelty. Mr. Speaker, we must take a multi-pronged approach to this particular subject. One of the greatest ironies is that Kenya is a producer of tobacco. And tobacco growing goes on in Western Kenya, particularly Nyanza, and more so the areas of Migori, especially the areas around Kuria. Tobacco is a big economic crop there. And so you find that 36,000 farmers, according to latest reports, rely on tobacco growing for sustenance. And about 13,500 hectares of land has been put under tobacco cultivation. Mr. Speaker, perhaps we need to have a conversation on how to transition these communities to healthier products, because in any case, it has not been established that tobacco growing has led to wealth and has increased the lot of those who practice tobacco growing. When you move around those areas, you can stare poverty straight in the eye, and yet you have farmers who dedicate and break their backs trying to produce tobacco, which eventually ends up in certain value chains that mess up the health of our people and put an inordinate burden on the health systems in this country. And so, whereas we could argue that we produce tobacco in Kenya, but it is possible to transition our farmers into healthier products. And Mr. Speaker, where tobacco grows, sunflower can grow, a lot of other products like soya, avocado, etc. can grow. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that the best solution is not to have policemen running around with rungus and handcuffs running after tobacco smokers, but to have a comprehensive policy that is designed to prevent and designed to address the root causes of tobacco consumption and tobacco abuse in this country. Mr. Speaker, the tobacco lobby is extremely strong. I've been in this parliament and I've seen instances where we have made proposals to amend the Tobacco Control Act, and you'll find people who work for the tobacco companies hanging around the parliamentary lounge, hanging around the parliamentary restaurant, and trying to talk members of parliament against making certain proposals. They always argue that because of syntax and excessive excise duty that is imposed on tobacco products, that it is such a critical economic factor that we should not be interfering with it. But, Mr. Speaker, we must balance the economics with the long-term health impacts. I want to support this proposed amendment because ultimately we must put in regulation and we must prescribe a certain regulatory or statutory framework for these electronic nicotine delivery systems. Mr. Speaker, as we do it, we must also be conscious of certain trends that are going on that we might not be able to catch as Parliament and that we might not even be able to catch as parents. Mr. Speaker, marijuana has been illegal in this country for the longest time. Its consumption, its distribution, its sale has been illegal. And yet it is still widely available in the country. The chiefs know where it is, the administration police know where it is, and it has become a cash cow. The administrators at the village level, from the village elders all the way up, they know where the marijuana is grown. They know who the peddlers are. But because it sustains a criminal enterprise, we cannot be able to get rid of it. Mr. Speaker, young people have now transitioned from smoking it to eating it. There is an emerging trend of weed cookies, Mr. Speaker, that are easily found online, that are easily found in urban centers, easily found in entertainment spots. You are eating a cookie, you think it's just a normal cookie, and yet it is laden with illegal products and illegal substances that have got a dangerous effect on our health. How are we going to be able to catch up? How are we going to be able to keep up with our young people? How are we going to be able to keep up with the criminals who are intent on using innovative approaches to escape the established laws? Mr. Speaker, beyond the weed cookies, there is what they are calling e-weed. And these devices, the same devices that can be used to deliver nicotine electronically, can also be used to deliver cannabis electronically. And Mr. Speaker, we need to ensure that when we do legislation, it is as broad as possible. But ultimately, it is not legislation that is going to help us. We must reset our moral fabric We must reset our moral compass as a country. We must ask ourselves, what are the underlying reasons that would drive a young person who has been in the church choir all the childhood ages, has been a pathfinder, has been an altar boy, and then all of a sudden, at the age of 13, 14, they decide to go into some of these activities, which the parents did not train them to do. Why? Is it because of overexposure to the media? Is it because of overexposure to advertising? Do we have advertising systems and advertising algorithms that trap our children into certain consumptive behavior? Mr. Speaker, the story is told of Japan. Originally, Japan was a tea-drinking nation. Japanese never drank coffee for a long time. And when the big coffee multinationals came into Japan, they were unable to penetrate the market. They were unable to sell. They got a child psychologist to develop for them an advertising campaign. And Mr. Speaker, what this child psychologist did was to try and put coffee in children's food from an early age. So you've got coffee-flavored infant formula. You've got coffee-flavored candy. You've got coffee-flavored chewing gum. And so children started getting the idea of the feel and the taste of coffee from an early age. It took only one generation, Mr. Speaker, for coffee to dominate as the biggest beverage in Japan. And it almost overtook tea. Why? Because they exploited the psychology of children. We must look carefully at even the advertising space in this country. Are we having adverts that are enslaving our children? And Mr. Speaker, it goes beyond what Ezekiel Mutua used to do when he was in the Field Classification Board, declaring something pornographic, declaring something ungodly. We must have scientific approach and scientific vetting of the marketing campaigns in this country, because I believe, Mr. Speaker, they make it look like it's cool to smoke, and so the kids want to smoke. When you look at Hollywood movies, Mr. Speaker, the star is always smoking. When you look at many of these sitcoms, you find a parent is smoking in the presence of children, and our children grow up thinking that it is cool, it is fashionable. That is where we need to prune. That is where we need to cut. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we do not deal with the perverse influences, the perverse advertising, and the perverse glorification of alcohol and cigarettes that we see in mainstream media, our children will find themselves enslaved by it. Mr. Speaker, regulating morals is extremely difficult. What some countries have done is to try to ride the tiger. And Mr. Speaker, there is an ongoing conversation now related to what we are discussing on a policy for regulation and control and distribution of alcohol in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have seen a lot of proposals coming up that will make it very, very difficult for young people to access alcohol and for alcohol to be widely accepted. But, Mr. Speaker, let us be fair. Let us be honest with each other. If someone at 18 is mature enough to vote, then that person can make other decisions in their lives. If you're going to be pushing these ages higher, then you'd rather say that you start voting at 21, you start driving at 21, because that is the age where you can have alcohol or you can have nicotine products. We must be careful around these things. And Mr. Speaker, certain countries have built entire economies on some of these products, of course, ensuring that there is quality and there is consistency in their production. Mr. Speaker, Cuban cigars are very famous and they fetch good money. They built a brand around it. But building a brand around it does not mean that it is abused domestically. Because a Cuban cigar is so expensive that an average Cuban worker cannot afford it and cannot smoke it for leisure. So it has been positioned as a luxury product. Other countries have done similar with alcoholic products. Mr. Speaker, the French have their cognac, and they talk of cognac diplomacy. When you meet a French diplomat and you are given the choice between cognac and scotch, they will insist on cognac because it tells the story of the French. They have their champagne that only comes, the grapes come from only one part of that country. And they have made it to become a luxury product, not accessible to the hoi polloi, but they sell it to us. They sell it to the upper classes of third world countries. When you go to Scotland, the Scotch have their Scotch whiskey, and they have branded it to an extent that one would want to drink the oldest. Mr. Speaker, you find someone drinking a 50-year-old whiskey, and themselves are not even 50 years by age, because it has been branded, and psychologically we have been made to believe that this is it. When you have made it in life, you should not be drinking 12-year-old whiskey, you should be drinking 50-year-old whiskey. If you go to America, they've got their bourbon. Mr. Speaker, even our neighbors, Uganda, they've got their waraji. Tanzania, they've got their konyagi. Nigeria, they've got their ogogoro. And you can scan the entire world. Jamaica, they've got their rum. Certain countries like South Africa are famous for their wine that comes from the Stellenbosch region. Mr. Speaker, we must mix, we must blend between making sure that we build products that can build our economy, but also ensuring that the adverse and perverse effects, our citizens are shielded from it. Mr. Speaker, I know that you are a man who loves literary works, and I want to invite the House to read a very interesting story by Leo Tolstoy. It is entitled The Imp and the Crust. Leo Tolstoy tries to tell the story of how man discovered alcohol. It is not a very nice story. And it is a story that says that the devil came to enslave man. And that is why the story is entitled The Imp and the Crust. Very, very interesting. And I want to encourage even the children who are in the gallery to read that story. You will realize that things like alcohol, things like cigarettes, perhaps are inventions of the devil, intended to enslave us and intended to keep us in a state where we are dazed and we are not able to work hard and we are not able to praise and give worship to God who created humanity. Mr. Speaker, let me finalize by saying that sometimes when we do good regulations like this or good laws like this, we then provide an opportunity for rent-seeking for the enforcement officers. Mr. Speaker, we have seen some things that happen at our airports. Immediately, we pass this law. I am sure that some rogue customs and border officers will be asking tourists to open up their suitcases. And if they find a vaping device, then they will use that to seek rent. We have seen where counties have come up with alcohol restriction laws. I think Nairobi City came up with certain tobacco restriction laws. Mr. Speaker, they went ahead to deploy plainclothes policemen to walk around and to frustrate. If you're found somewhere with a cigarette, they would handcuff you and they would demand some bribe from you and they would generally embarrass you. Let us make sure that enforcement of these regulations and enforcement of this statute does not open another backdoor for rent-seeking, for opportunistic behaviors from our enforcement officers. And Mr. Speaker, let us also allow county governments to be in this space, because the fourth schedule of the Constitution makes things like tobacco control and liquor licensing to be a function of county governments. All these policy directives coming from NACADA, coming from the national government, must be owned and must be bought into by the county governments. Mr. Speaker, this is a good innovation. This will protect our young people from the adverse effects of these devices. And Mr. Speaker, we must support this, but we must fine-tune it to ensure that we are not trying to regulate morals. We must deal with the root cause that drives our children into tobacco abuse, into alcohol abuse, and into drug abuse. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang. You have announced so many textbooks, story books to read. Maybe if you do me some favor, you write them down, because I could not even get what you mentioned. So you give me the list, and I can give them books. Honorable Senators, let me make this communication as we proceed with the contributions. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from Kibiricha Junior Secondary School in Meru County. The delegation comprises 5 teachers and 60 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our ancient tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Now, Honorable Senator, since I'm the chair, I'll give this opportunity my friend, other sister from Meru, from Kituim, but we took her to Meru, and she accepted to be a Marian. Senator Tabitha Mutinda, invite these people. But before you do that, let me say that this is a good school from my county. And I schooled at Kibiricha boys, they're in Kibiricha girls, in an area that is very, very conducive for learning. So proceed and welcome the visitors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to welcome my small brothers and sisters from Kibiricha Junior Secondary School in my matrimonial county, Meru, the great county of Meru, where our speaker, represents. And as you've heard, when Senator Kajwang was doing his submissions and mentioned so many books, your speaker loves a lot of reading, as you can tell by wanting to read more and more books. He has also stated he's an alumni of Kibiricha Boys, an indication that the motto of the school, he has continued with it up to the floor of this house, that reading and acquiring knowledge and the skills that are required is the best way to go. These are the skills that nobody will ever take away from you. Education is the weapon that nobody will ever take away from you. And also the future belongs to those who believe in it. You have a bright future. Meru is where I'm married, is my other home. Apart from where I've come from, I'm happy to be here. And you can also be here. Anybody can be in this particular space. I want to tell the young people, respect your teachers. Enjoy your studies. There is no reverse. You have a very good opportunity. Some of us did not even have an opportunity in the schools that we used to be to even have an opportunity to come to the gallery of Parliament. You have one. Use it well and make the best out of it. I wish you well. I wish you God's blessings. And I think my network tells me that the speaker had sent something for you. It's my prayer. I see the heads are nodding that you've received whatever he has sent to you, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, let us hear the perspective of this bill from the Vice Chair of Health, and then we proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, first, I have to appreciate Senator Muma for coming up with this amendment. Mr. Speaker, the parent bill, the last amendment was 2009, Mr. Speaker, before devolution. Mr. Speaker, that showed that there is a gap in our tobacco control bill. So Senator Muma now decide that gap. She has seen the gap and she decided to do that. And I stand to support the bill. Mr. Speaker, if I go direct to the bill, Mr. Speaker, in the first definition of the smoking, it has been done very well. It has incorporated nicotine. And also when it comes to tobacco products, because in the parent bill, it doesn't have, it has a tobacco product, but with no synthetic nicotine definitions. So that means that the objective of the bill is to come up with a regulation of the electronic nicotine bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in a section 3, where the Senator Muma amends on the one person nominated by the county government, I appreciate that, because this bill, the parent bill, is done before the devolutions, and now this one is considering the county government. That is more of involving devolution. Mr. Speaker, Section 7, amendment, Section 4, which is amendment of Section 7, which gives 50% of the fees paid for testing and approval of the products. When it comes to approval and testing, Mr. Speaker, as my opinion, I think one of the senators also bring that opinion on board on the approval and testing power, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that we have to separate the role of the power, the approval and the testing. The approval to be done by the Cabinet Secretary for Health, and the testing to be done by Kenya Bureau of Standard. Because if we do, I know it is bureaucratic for the approval and testing, but to restrict these consumptions and also for the industries players not to do some other bribery issues, we need to separate the approval and the testing. On the 50%, my suggestion is also, Mr. Speaker, the consumption of the consumers of these products, in the long run, they end up in health problems, in the lungs cancer and so forth. Mr. Speaker, in SHA, there is a chronic illness fund. So in this, we have to have, maybe my suggestion is the 2% from the source to be deducted to go to the chronic and illness fund. That is one of the amendments which I may suggest on that, so that at least those affected people on the lungs cancers and many other chronic diseases can be catered for in health-wise, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the volume of narcotic system in the electronic cigarette, which she suggested, Senator Muma suggested 10 mg, and internationally it is 20 mg limit, which is suggested by, that is an industry players, that's their suggestion. That showed that they wanted to be, the consumers to be more addictive. To reduce that, we need to reduce the volume of the nicotine in the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. So I agree with the 10%, 10 mg nicotine in the cigarette. Mr. Speaker, there is also, when it comes to also flavors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these electronic cigarettes are in packaging in some kind of packaging. Like there is a filter pen, there is a flash disk, of which an ordinary person, me myself, I cannot know until maybe somebody can, maybe an experienced person can tell me this is what is a cigarette, Mr. Speaker. And also, if at all it has a smell, I can recognize, but it has so many flavors that you cannot even think that this person is smoking the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. So to my opinion and with the agreement of the Senator Muma, we ban the flavor. And in any way, if you are a smoker, why do you have to hide? And also to be set aside to our youth, our kids at home, Mr. Speaker, we ban this flavor so that we see for the behaviors of our kids at home, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the online sales or hawkers and also adverts online, so Mr. Speaker, there's easy accessibility for our youth, Mr. Speaker. We have to restrict online sales because nowadays all of us do sales when we are on our bedroom, Mr. Speaker. So to avoid that, and our youth, maybe you thought that they are doing some other things, maybe they are even ordering this thing online, Mr. Speaker. To avoid that, we have to restrict mode of sales, that is online sales, and also advertisement, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other thing is warning written on the electronic cigarette, Mr. Speaker. The industry players suggested that is we cannot do because maybe some of them is like a pen, and writing that warning on that it will be a tiny thing. So we decided as a committee, no, the warning must be written in any cigarettes and also electronic cigarette, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my suggestion on the also licensing requirement, Mr. Speaker, the way liquor license is different from others, let also tobacco license, electronic cigarette to be different, so that it cannot be sold in anywhere, because currently can be sold in a kiosk in anywhere. But if we restrict the licensing, it is more of controlling measures so that anyone can access the substances, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other one is about the board. And the board, I have already highlighted that Senator Muma has cooperated the county government, of which senators the oversighting and Senate and county government, Mr. Speaker. There is also the matter of there is a control fund, tobacco control fund. As I have already highlighted, Mr. Speaker, the fund which is in tobacco control fund, Mr. Speaker, currently they are not using properly because they are getting the money from Exchequer. Mr. Speaker, that percentage of the 2% or 5% roughly can be deducted to take to chronic illness fund. Mr. Speaker, in section 5, there is a place supplies to and by young person, Mr. Speaker, that is restricting no person should be sell tobacco products to a person under 18. Mr. Speaker, that shows that we can, kids nowadays, but with this accessibility of the electronic cigarette, which is not regulated, it is everywhere, Mr. Speaker, in primary school even, leave of secondary school, Mr. Speaker. So we have to, if we pass this bill, our primary school and secondary schools will be safe because they are under 18 and it will be safe. Mr. Speaker, for the promotions and the advertisements and the sponsor, Mr. Speaker, they are not supposed to sell no person should advertise the tobacco product on any medium of electronic, printed, or any other form of communications, because that is under online selling, on the online advert, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is also prohibiting smoking area, which we have to regularize. The bill restricted where not to smoke the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is highly recommended that we are not supposed to, in a working area, there must be a strategic place for cigarette smoking area, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Commissioner of Congo Mugeni, a Senator for Nyamira County.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for the opportunity you have given me to contribute to this bill that has been sponsored by my good friend, Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, I begin by saluting Senator Catherine Muma for coming up with a bill that, Mr. Speaker, poses a big, the use of e-cigarettes that is being addressed in this bill poses a big challenge to the future of our children. And I'm out, Mr. Speaker, I'm making my contribution when in the gallery there are a number of students who I believe will pay some attention to what I'm going to say. Mr. Speaker, I've read the Memorandum of Object and Reasons in support of this bill, and I want to begin by making an appeal to my good friend Senator Muma because of what I'm going to state on this floor. We should amend our statement of object and reasons for the bill. Instead of saying that the bill seeks to ensure that no products, particularly electronic nicotine delivery systems, are manufactured, distributed, or imported or sold in Kenya without the prior authorization of the Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'll propose that we should amend this bill to ban totally the use of e-cigarettes in this country. Mr. Speaker, if my good friend Catherine Muma, Senator, is persuaded, we should amend this bill and propose for a total ban of e-cigarettes in this country. Mr. Speaker, if you speak to any doctor, I was present in a sitting of the Health Committee when we received views from a number of stakeholders. And Mr. Speaker, one of the stakeholders in that meeting was a widow of a son of a former cabinet secretary, a former minister during Moi's government, the widow of the late Peter Olo Aringo Jr. Mr. Speaker, I took videos of the presentation of that lady, the widow of the late Peter Olo Aringo Jr. And Mr. Speaker, that Kenyan who appeared before that committee had very convincing health-backed scientific reasons why we should not allow e-cigarettes to be sold in this country, Mr. Speaker. And I don't think, Mr. Speaker, as members of this august House, we should legislate to allow products that are harmful to our children to be sold in this country, Mr. Speaker. I've seen the proposals in the bill, especially in section 15, where we are saying that we are going to prohibit smoking of e-cigarettes in our homes. Mr. Speaker, do you have capacity of banning your 18-year-old from smoking e-cigarettes in your own home? What will be the legal consequence? The best thing we can do, Mr. Speaker, is to keep these products away from our borders. And Mr. Speaker, science, the research around science supports banning of e-cigarettes. The WHO itself, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy that the chair of health is now here. He was in that meeting, Mr. Speaker, when we got that presentation from the widow of Peter Olo Aringo, Jr., Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, WHO has warned us. WHO has warned nations all over the world, Mr. Speaker, that allowing e-cigarettes consumption in any country, the risk you're posing is to the children, the young people of those countries. They say the people at risk is not us, the senior citizens, 50 years and above. No. Nobody's going to convince you, Mr. Speaker, at your age to start consumption of e-cigarettes. No. But WHO is saying in countries that e-cigarette is allowed, about 50% of the customers of e-cigarette smoking are children between the age of 15 and 24, Mr. Speaker. Just look at that risk, that as a country, we are putting at risk a very vulnerable generation of 15 to 24 at the risk of getting addicted to e-cigarettes. And then WHO is telling us, Mr. Speaker, that the easiest way of moving into conventional smoking is by allowing e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. Honestly, Mr. Speaker, why should we, barely because we want to look at commercial interest in terms of the tax that we are going to get, to destroy the future generation, simply because we are saying we want the government not to lose tax? Because in that meeting, Mr. Speaker, we had stakeholders in that meeting. And all they were telling us, Mr. Speaker, is that if you ban e-cigarettes, there will be a drop in revenue in terms of tax collection that will go to the government. Mr. Speaker, we should not substitute the future of our children with commercial interests, Mr. Speaker. As a country, we should never, Mr. Speaker. And then, Mr. Speaker, we are not an island. We are a family of nations, Mr. Speaker. There are countries that have been bold enough that have banned totally e-cigarettes within their jurisdictions. Even our neighbors, Uganda, President Kaguta Yoweri Museveni has totally banned e-cigarettes in Uganda, Mr. Speaker, through the Tobacco Control Act of Uganda, Mr. Speaker. If Museveni, our neighbor here, can forego tax income from e-cigarettes and still the country is surviving, why not us, Mr. Speaker? Why not us, Mr. Speaker? In Asia, Mr. Speaker, Thailand has totally banned the use of e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. If you read medical journals, Mr. Speaker, the professional body of doctors in the UK gave a scientific paper on the risk posed by e-cigarette that led to the banning, Mr. Speaker, total banning of e-flavored cigarettes in the UK, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I was to have my way, this bill requires us to retreat. We'll be locked up in a hole somewhere, Mr. Speaker. And we call professionals. Let doctors speak to us on only one issue. Does e-cigarette smoking pose a risk to the health of our youths? And Mr. Speaker, if, as I've read myself, if they are able to bring evidence that shows that e-cigarettes poses a risk to our young children, Mr. Speaker, the best thing to do in the best national interest, Mr. Speaker, because we should be legislating, bearing in mind that we are doing it in the best interest of the country, not commercial, Mr. Speaker, best interest of the country. If we are convinced so, Mr. Speaker, then we should all unanimously agree that we should ban e-cigarettes. If you destroy a generation of between 15 to 24 years, Mr. Speaker, it means that you have no, you don't have a generation that will take over from us, Mr. Speaker. If you address the health concerns, Mr. Speaker, health concerns of e-cigarette consumption, they are serious, Mr. Speaker. One, e-cigarette consumption, Senator Catherine Muma, leads to serious lung damage, what doctors call a popcorn lung, Mr. Speaker. And do you know the serious risk, Senator Wambua, is that when you smoke an e-cigarette, you don't feel like it can harm you. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is smooth. It is so smooth. It goes down to the lungs very smoothly. Not like, you know, I'm speaking like I've tried it, but that's what I was told in that meeting. That it goes down so smoothly, deep to your lung, okay? And you don't realize that it's causing some damage to your lung. But slowly by slowly, Mr. Speaker, it damages the airwaves around your lungs. And in that meeting, we were told, Mr. Speaker, that there are documented cases, where young people just collapse and die. And the cause, e-cigarette smoking. Mr. Speaker, why should we handle such a problem with gloves? We should hit the nail on the head, Mr. Speaker, and say, as a country, we are not going to tolerate anything called e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, in this country. The second health concern, Mr. Speaker, is nicotine addiction. This e-cigarette is the easiest way of becoming an addict, a smoking addict, Mr. Speaker. Because you look at it like it's fashionable, you know. Young people look at it like it's fashionable, but before you realize it, you become addicted to it, Mr. Speaker. Even what's more worrying, Mr. Speaker, is what doctors are telling us, that these e-cigarettes have some harmful chemicals in it. They call it diacetyl. I don't know that I pronounced it well. There is an harmful chemical they use to do the flavors in those e-cigarettes. And our children take them innocently, Mr. Speaker. We shouldn't allow such a thing to happen. We are here as leaders who should be conscious that we need to protect the future of our young generation. And the best thing we can do, Mr. Speaker, is to be remembered that the 13th Parliament banned e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, I've said there are so many countries. You travel in all continents. You go to the Americas, Mr. Speaker, you will find that Argentina has totally banned e-cigarettes, Brazil, Mexico. That's in the Americas. In Asia, Mr. Speaker, there are many countries, including Thailand, Mr. Speaker, I've just said, Singapore, India, Mr. Speaker. You come to Africa, I've given the case of Uganda, there is the case of Gambia. Let us include Kenya there, Mr. Speaker. Let Kenya be among those countries, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, even if you are to remove the health concerns for our young people, there is another problem, Mr. Speaker. The world is currently discussing about issues dealing with the environmental conservation, Mr. Speaker. But these e-cigarettes pose a serious risk to our environment, Mr. Speaker, because the products used are non-biodegradable. Non-biodegradable, meaning that you use an e-cigarette, what remains? You throw it to the environment, you are destroying our environment, Mr. Speaker. And that's why countries like UK, Mr. Speaker, have totally banned disposable e-cigarettes. Okay? Because they are conscious that we need to protect the environment, Mr. Speaker. So I want to urge my good friend, Senator Catherine Muma, you have an opportunity to really, go on record as a senator who brought a bill that wants to protect the future of our young children. We all know, Mr. Speaker, how vulnerable our youths are, in terms of some of the products that look very, very attractive, but pose serious health concerns to them, Mr. Speaker. So let us all come together, Mr. Speaker, and rally everybody to support the total banning of e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. There's a time, Mr. Speaker, we traveled with the health committee to Cuba. And Mr. Speaker, in Cuba, we were taken to farms that make tobacco, Mr. Speaker. And I was impressed, though I'm not a smoker, Senator Wambua, but I was impressed that in Cuba, the people who make cigarettes are extremely conscious of the risks that cigarettes pose to human beings, especially the products that are used in manufacturing cigarettes. So what they do, Mr. Speaker, is they roll that cigarettes using the tobacco leaf itself. They don't use any external material. The cigarette is made from that tobacco leaf itself. And the WHO is telling us, Mr. Speaker, it's better to smoke that tobacco rolled in that tobacco leaf than to smoke an e-cigarette. We have tobacco in Korea. If we want to allow consumption of tobacco, let us promote the traditional tobacco smoking. Before industrialization, I'm sure our grandfathers used to smoke tobacco the traditional way. You fold the leaf and you smoke it, natural from the farm, Mr. Speaker. But this one of e-cigarette, Mr. Speaker, we should not entertain the selling of e-cigarettes in our country. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go to the details of what is contained in the bill, but I also want to draw concern on some of the provisions I continuously keep seeing on our bills. We keep saying, like what I'm seeing in Section 3, that we need one person nominated by a Council of County Governors, Mr. Speaker. Have you ever seen, even one day, an advert in a newspaper from the Council of Governors inviting Kenyans to apply to be appointed to any board, Mr. Speaker? What has been happening is that you put this clause, friends or supporters of governors are the ones who are nominated to sit in these bodies. If we want to entertain the involvement of it's called COG, Council of County Governors, in some of these legislations, Mr. Speaker, we should say nominated through a competitive process, so that we rotate all these positions. We have 47 counties, Mr. Speaker. If one legislation, a representative is picked from Meru, next time it should be Kitui. In another legislation, it should be from Nyamira, Mr. Speaker. But this one of just saying nominated by Council of County Governors, Mr. Speaker, without a merit-based process, you will get that it's just friends of maybe, and I'm not referring to the current chairman, but probably it's just friends of either the chairman, or if there is a committee that deals with issues of tobacco, they are the ones who select people to sit there. Let us make it merit-based, competitive. Senator Wambua, this matter is dear, and I hope I've convinced one or two senators, including yourself, yes, that we should support total banning of e-cigarettes. I've said the WHO supports that position. We have several cases. We can take best examples from countries that have banned it, then we join the progressive countries that want to protect our children. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir,
very well,
I support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Senator Wambua Enoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice on this bill sponsored by our friend, our colleague, Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by, of course, congratulating Senator Muma for bringing this bill for us to debate, take a vote, and then make a decision on which way to go in matters relating to e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, it should be remembered by all of us that from around 2017, or 2016, 2017, 2018, when e-cigarettes started making an appearance on our land through the then very famous shisha and vapes, to date, Mr. Speaker, is more than 8 years. And there is no law, even from the county assemblies, to regulate the sale and consumption of e-cigarettes. The Speaker, even more worrying is the ease with which any person, irrespective of age, can access these e-cigarettes through the various websites. Mr. Speaker, and if that is not worrying enough, then you'll be worried, Mr. Speaker, by realizing the amount of nicotine packed into those vapes by the manufacturers and the dealers. The Speaker, here in Kenya, and I've had my own conversations with the promoter of the bill, and she has shown me vapes containing as much as 12,000 puffs in small units, others with 2,500 puffs, others with 9,000 puffs. Whereas, Mr. Speaker, from the manufacturers, the countries that manufacture these vapes and sell to our children in Kenya, the maximum number of puffs in those gadgets is 600. So the Speaker, it begs the question, if we are not just a dumping ground for those dangerous vapes, then what are we? The Speaker, we have a duty as leaders to protect our children. Yes, arguments have been put forth that at the age of 18, we should let our children make decisions on what they want to do with their lives. But, Mr. Speaker, truth be told, this is one avenue where an argument can be put forward that it provides fertile grounds for child abuse and killing the future of our children. I'm happy today, Mr. Speaker, because we are debating this bill when we have students visiting us from different schools. And they need to hear it from us, Mr. Speaker, that this is not a question of us legislating on morals, because we cannot do that. We can't even begin to legislate on morals. The Senator for Nyamira, the senior counsel, and our commissioner in the Parliamentary Service Commission, has proposed an engagement, a conversation between us as legislators and the Ministry of Health on the dangers of e-cigarettes. The Speaker, I want to expound on that proposal and suggest that such conversation should happen between three parties. One, the legislature, so that we come up with a law that is relevant to the reality of our time. The second partner or party to that conversation should be that Ministry of Health, and what we should be asking them to tell us from research is whether there is any known benefit of inhaling e-cigarettes, any known benefit. They bring it on the table. And then the Speaker, the third party to that conversation should be the CS Treasury to tell us how much money do we get in tax revenue from trading in e-cigarettes, and the amount of money that we use, the Speaker, to treat ailments emanating from inhaling e-cigarettes. So, Speaker, we may be surprised to realize that it is a zero-sum game. In fact, we could be spending a lot more money on treatment for ailments associated with e-cigarettes and for rehabilitation of people, young people, and even adults that have been hooked and in rehabilitation centers than the amount of money that we get in taxes. Mr. Speaker, if it is true, and I don't doubt it, that Uganda, our neighbor, has decided to forego the revenue emanating from taxes on e-cigarettes, why should we have a problem with making that decision? Mr. Speaker, I am inclined, and you know this is the beauty of debate, I'm inclined to think along the lines of my colleague, Senator Eric Mogeni, that perhaps actually what we should do is to ban trade in e-cigarettes and consumption of e-cigarettes in this country. For a good reason, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I've also realized that for some reason in this country, and I'm not saying this because I belong to the other side of the political divide, but Mr. Speaker, I've also realized that people are a bit timid in making bold decisions. Today, Mr. Speaker, I saw a very bold decision which asks a lot of our people in Tanzania, where the government has just decided to limit the businesses that non-citizens of Tanzania can be engaged in while in Tanzania. They have even gone ahead, Mr. Speaker, to say that any citizen who in any way facilitates a non-citizen to carry out certain businesses, including, Mr. Speaker, our own global innovation on M-Pesa trading, that any Tanzanian who aids any person from outside Tanzania to carry out money transfer, electronic money transfer, or telephone-based money transfer, commits a crime and is liable to a fine and a term in jail. Mr. Speaker, that decision in itself, it's a bad decision for us, but it is a bold decision. As Speaker, we can take bold decisions in this country and say that because the benefits of trading in and consuming e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, face to nothing compared to the losses in terms of health, then we should take the bold decision and do away with e-cigarettes in this country. Mr. Speaker, again, in this country you realize that the websites that are selling e-cigarettes, there is, Mr. Speaker, so much of those products, so many of them, packaged in ways that are very, very attractive to young people. I've had, the Speaker, an opportunity to look at some of them packaged as marker pens, looking beautiful mark pens. Some of them looking like toys. Some looking like sweets. Lollipops. And the Speaker, to add injury to, or insult to injury, the Speaker, they are flavored. It's a chocolate flavor, strawberry flavor. So when you consume, you actually convince yourself, and I heard Senator Mogeni saying it goes in so smoothly, but he also made a rejoinder that he has not tried it. The Speaker, that must all be subjected to some analysis. We need to be sure. The way he explained it, it seems like a person who has first-hand experience, It goes in so smoothly. And imagine it going down so smoothly for young people. And it is sold as a sweet with strawberry flavor. What will stop our kids from buying these products, Mr. Speaker? And then they get hooked to nicotine. Mr. Speaker, as I said, first of all, as a stopgap measure, as we move now towards a conversation on the ban, let us be very clear that you cannot have those products on Kenyan soil if and when they are flavored. Let's begin from there. That you can, nicotine is nicotine, cigarette is cigarette. It must smell as it should. It must taste as it should. Don't put flavors into it to make it attractive or want to conceal the dangers of cigarette smoking. Mr. Speaker, the bill as proposed, the amendment as proposed by Senator Catherine Muma, in Section 8, is the one that addresses the packaging and bans the open sale of e-cigarettes in public vehicles, in public spaces. Now that's Section 9. Section 8 deals with the packaging using items that appeal to underage children, like sweets and toys. All that is good. The Speaker, as I conclude, I want to make an observation about that Section 3, the inclusion of a person nominated by the Council of Governors in the board. Mr. Speaker, going forward, I think this Senate will have to make a decision on how to engage with the Council of Governors. We must decide whether they are a body that we can give legal responsibilities, and then in that case, make a decision on how they will be funded, or just decide that they are an amorphous body and then we don't assign any roles and responsibilities to them. So this case is very confusing. When governors appear before committees of the Senate, they are hard-pressed to explain how they are spending money on COG activities. But when we legislate, we assign roles and responsibilities to COG. Mr. Speaker, that decision, and because I know, Mr. Speaker, you are the chair, the able chair of the Legal Affairs Department. Mr. Speaker, you must unbundle that confusion for this Senate. That from one side of the mouth, the Senate is saying, the COG should undertake these responsibilities. On the other side of the mouth, you are putting governors on the spot for spending money to facilitate the COG to undertake activities that you as the Senate have given to them. Mr. Speaker, this is not, it doesn't look good. And because you sit there, Mr. Speaker, and we know your abilities, the Speaker, do something about that. So that then we don't have situations where we are making laws, and every time we are debating a bill, it has a role that has been assigned to the COG, and yet we are not very, very clear on the legality of that body called the COG. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I congratulate Senator Muma for bringing up this bill and challenge Senator Muma and challenge this House to push this government to make bold decisions and backed by legislation that we are going to pass to ban the trade in and consumption of e-cigarettes in this country. If the World Health Organization, the Speaker, has pronounced itself on the dangers of e-cigarettes, and we have examples from our neighbors who have imposed that ban, and we have examples from the countries where these e-cigarettes emanate, who have taken drastic and bold measures to regulate. Mr. Speaker, we should be bold enough to say that we should push for a ban on e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I support.
Senator Wambua, I took note of the comments you made regarding that proposal by Senator Muma as regards the membership which you are proposing to come from the Council of Governors. And it's something that, remember, there has been litigation as to the legality of that council, and definitely will take appropriate action. Senior Counsel Kongo Mogeni knows the extent with which such actions can, such positions can be pushed through the House, and I think it is worth the comments you made, and I definitely will also, as a chair of JLAC, undertake what needs to be undertaken. Now, honorable members, there is no other member who is seeking to contribute to this particular bill, and therefore I will call upon the mover, Senator Catherine Muma, to reply on this very important bill.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to most sincerely thank colleagues who have taken time to read this bill and have contributed and enriched my thinking on this bill. I'd like to specifically thank Senator Veronica Minas, Senator Olekina, Senator Majority Leader Senator Aaron Cheruyot, Senator Cherarke, Senator Tabitha Mutinda, Senator Kisang, yours truly, Speaker Senator Sigei, Senator Kajwang, Senator Marian, Senator Mogeni, Senior Counsel, and Senator Wambua,
who have contributed in a very profound way. Honorable Speaker, I am glad that colleagues appreciate that this is not just a legislative adventure by Catherine Muma, it is a responsibility that we need to take on as a House. I hope a responsibility that we will deliver and deliver soon, a responsibility that I hope we can persuade the National Assembly to actually deliver as well. A responsibility that I'd like to call on industry to not block. A responsibility that I'm asking the Ministry of Health to take seriously. In fact, to the CS Duale, to the extent that the officers in the Ministry of Health have allowed a whole 8 years of business that is ruining our children to keep going unchecked. I think they need to admit they have failed this nation and they must be part of the solution. They must not be part of the problem. Honorable Speaker, a number of proposals have been made. I take note of Senator Cheruyot's proposal around the need to use the opportunity to see whether we can put greater responsibility to the Tobacco Control Board, which seems to work for the industry more than it works for the people of Kenya. He has made some proposals, and I will go and sit with him about how we hold them accountable to what they're supposed to do. He has made proposals around the fund that they have, how that fund can be used to be plowed back to ensure that we sensitize our society better around the ills of smoking and of the e-cigarettes as they have come. Senator Mogeni, Senator Wambua would prefer that we totally ban the e-cigarettes. They have, that is on the other end, but we have senators also who say that the business is there. Our responsibility is to ensure that we regulate this so that our children are out of harm. There is those who have talked about going beyond nicotine-based products. Is it Senator Ojwangs who talked about the e-weed? It is something, again, I will have a chat with him to see, is there a clause that might be able to deal with that? There are those who've raised issues around taxation, responsibilities of KEBS, NACADA, and so on. There are those who have brought suggestion that I also include a definition on synthetic nicotine and so on. A profound one comes in around how we get the COG to be reflected in this bill, whether we want COG to be reflected or whether we want to give responsibility to county governments, and even if we do so, to ensure that there is meritocracy in the nomination. Honorable Senators, I really, really appreciate. I just want to tell you that I think this is quite important. Allow me to just make one demonstration. Senator Wambua, you are here. This gadget that I am holding that has 12,000 puffs, in Kenya, if you go to the UK and the EU and China, minimum nicotine content is 20 milligrams per milliliter. In Kenya, and this gadget in particular, is 50 mg per milliliter. And this, in the UK and the EU, a gadget cannot have more than 6,000 puffs. This gadget has 12,000 puffs. So now if you have a naughty 10-year-old who gets access to one gadget in the EU, and one who gets access in Kenya to this gadget, the child in the EU needs to go to the shop 60 times in order to achieve the content of nicotine in this gadget in Kenya. So can you imagine your child in Kenya having one gadget in their bedroom, puffing away this gadget, but the one who's being not in the EU must be extremely innovative to go to the shop 60 times. That is how we are killing our children. Now, there are those who've raised the issue of how will you monitor residents. Now, the issue is that the law on the protection of children does not say that if your father is a smoker, it is okay for you to smoke. So how will we protect children, for instance, who must passively smoke because their father is a smoker? When you talk about residents, and the children get to know that a household is a place where you should not be smoking. Number one, even when they're coming in, they need to be careful. Number two, a careful parent will take that law seriously, will actually go outside of that house when they want to smoke. So it's not just a law in vain. Even though it may not be implemented, it sends a serious message that we are also worried about the children of those of you who smoke. That they are equal children with equal right in these countries. And we are cognizant of the fact that you might be making them passive smokers in your house. So I'd like members to look at this in this regard. I'd like to tell the chair of the Committee of Health and members that this law is so important. I am open to actually sitting with you and bringing any amendments that would add value to this law. So do not be aggrieved that I moved forward. It is just that a year later, I think it's too long for us to move. And therefore, I am open to that. With those remarks, thank you so much. Thank you also to the Secretariat, Directorate of Legal, who helped to draft this law. My team, which has researched, I keep sending them, can you go and research what does this mean, who have actually worked on this, and I would like to thank you for all of this. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 66A, I request for the deferment of putting the question to a later date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Catherine Muma. Pursuant to... yes, she has replied. Kindly rephrase the closing comment.
Honorable Speaker, I reply. And pursuant to Standing Order 66, I request for the deferment of putting of the question. Thank you.
That's now in order. Thank you. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 66, the putting of the question is hereby deferred to the next sitting of the House. And now, honorable members, for the convenience of the House, we will rearrange the order paper and call order number 20. Clerk, please call out order number 20.
Order number 20, motion, reports of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its inquiry into the state of markets in Vihiga and Bungoma counties arising from a statement sought by Senator Godfrey Osotsi and Senator David Wakoli.
Senator Catherine.
Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, 27th March 2024, the Senator for Bungoma County, Senator David Wafula Wakoli, MP, rose pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations regarding the state of markets in Bungoma County. Similarly, on Tuesday, 12th March, the Senator for Vihiga County, Senator Godfrey Osotsi, MP, rose pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a similar statement from the committee regarding the state of markets in Vihiga. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, Senator Wakoli, MP, the Senator for Bungoma County, sought a report to state on the state of key markets in Bungoma, including but not limited to Chepkube in Bungoma Town, Misihu, Kamukuywa, Matisi, Bukembe, Mateka, Chwele, Kimilili, Cheptais, Sirisia, Kapkateni, Kapsokwani, Kabula, Kandui, Mayanja, and Mateka, specifically addressing the availability and functionality of essential services such as water supply, street lighting, infrastructure, waste management, and sanitation. Additionally, he requested to be furnished with a status update of all market improvements and or expansion projects initiated by County Government of Bungoma for the financial year 2013 to 2014 to date. From the financial year 2013 to 2013-2014 to date. Further, the Senator requested for a breakdown of the on-source revenues generated by the county government from each market from 2018-2019 to date, giving a comparison of the revenue to the total cost incurred for services, construction, and market improvements, as well as the amount retained from the revenue. Similarly, in the statement by Senator Godfrey Osotsi, CBS MP, the Senator for Vihiga County, sought a report on the state of key markets in Vihiga, including but not limited to Mbale, Majengo, Luanda, Serem, Chavakali, Cheptulu, Shamahoho, Esibuye, and Mudete markets, specifically addressing the availability and functionality of essential services such as water supply, street lighting, water management, and sanitation. Mr. Speaker, in considering the statement, the committee wrote to the County Government of Bungoma and the County Government of Vihiga, asking them to submit a response regarding the issues raised in the statements. Further, the committee resolved to undertake visits to Bungoma and Vihiga to inspect the various markets as requested in the statements. The committee visited Bungoma County on Friday, 21st June 2024, where they held a meeting with the Deputy Governor and later proceeded for an inspection of the markets. The committee inspected Chepkube, Bukembe, and Kamukuyo markets, where they held meetings with the market management development committees and had engagements with the market traders to receive their memorandum and submissions stating the challenges they face and their proposals of market improvements. The committee visited Vihiga County on Saturday, 22nd June 2024, where they held a meeting with the governor and members of the county executive committee and later proceeded for an inspection of the markets. The committee inspected Mbale, Serem, Majengo, Esibuye, and Luanda markets, where they held meetings with the market management development committees and had engagements with the market traders. Mr. Speaker, the committee did an in-depth analysis of the stakeholders' submissions and made various observations which are set in Chapter 4 of these reports. The committee observed that the markets have the necessary essential services, that is water, street lighting, sanitation, and waste management, although they face challenges of inadequacy, vandalism, and poor maintenance. Additionally, the markets face a number of challenges, which include congestion due to limited space, poor drainage and sewerage systems, and insecurity that hinder business of the traders. Based on its findings and observation, the committee made various recommendations, which are set out in Chapter 5 of these reports. The committee recommended that the two respective county governments should ensure provision of adequate services to markets, provide a safe and comfortable working environment for the traders, and address the specific challenges facing traders in each market. Mr. Speaker, may I take this opportunity to commend the members of the committee for their devotion and commitment to duty, which made the consideration of the statements successful. I also wish to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk of the Senate for the support extended to the committee in undertaking these important assignments. Lastly, I wish to thank the stakeholders who presented their submissions on the statements of the committee. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I wish to move this motion and request that the House adopts reports of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its consideration of the statements sought by Senator David Wakoli Wafula Wakoli MP regarding the state of markets in Bungoma County and the statement sought by Senator Godfrey Osoti, CBS MP, on the state of markets in Vihiga. I now call upon Senator Oburu to second.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was one of the members of the Senate who visited these markets in Bungoma and in Vihiga, and indeed I appreciate the commitment of the stakeholders whom we met everywhere we went, and we also thank the members of the Senate who requested for our visit. Mr. Speaker, I really enjoyed our visits to those markets because, Mr. Speaker, I realized that sitting here in the Senate without going to Mashinani to interact with the people, with the stakeholders, you don't get a feel of what our Senate should be doing or performing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we got very warm receptions wherever we went, and we made people to realize what the Senate does. A lot of people don't realize the role of the Senate, and when we went there and explained and talked to the Wananchi were very, very receptive, and they gave us a lot of information which was very useful to us in writing the reports which have come out here. And I would want to second and urge members to debate our report objectively and come out with further recommendations or support the recommendations which we have made, Mr. Speaker, in these reports in Bungoma and in the markets in Vihiga constituency, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second.
I do think that you must have meant Vihiga County and not constituency. Now, Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the Senate adopts reports of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its inquiry into the state of markets in Vihiga and Bungoma counties arising from statements sought by Senator Godfrey Osotsi, MP, and Senator David Wafula Wakoli, MP, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 1st of October, 2024. Now, honorable members, the motion is now available for debate by members. I see Senator Wambua has requested to speak to it, and I will allow you to proceed to comment on the motion.
I thank you, the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will share the time that I have with my colleague, Senator Mugeni. So, first of all, Mr. Speaker, is to thank the committee for making those visits to Bungoma and Vihiga, Mr. Speaker, to see what is happening, especially on our markets in those two counties. The Speaker, I would have wanted to listen to something that they did not capture. And perhaps this is my way of enriching that report. The Speaker, the fourth schedule of our Constitution, Part 2, lists markets as the development of markets, the regulation of markets as a devolved function. The Speaker, in this administration, we have seen an increase in cases where the national government is overreaching and taking up devolved functions, especially in the area of markets. The Speaker, that overreach, and especially in markets, has been so controversial that we have seen Kenyans have been treated to scenes of leaders physically fighting over who should carry out that function. The Speaker, I stand to remind the committee that if the national government has an interest and an appetite for development of markets in the county, Mr. Speaker, the provisions of Article 187 of our Constitution are very clear. That if you are transferring a function from one level of government to the other level of government, then two things must happen. One, there must be an agreement between the two levels of government in writing, Mr. Speaker. And secondly, that the monies that had been set aside for that function in that level of government should move to the next level, but responsibility remains with the original level of government. Mr. Speaker, I would have wanted to hear from the committee telling us the markets that have been developed, especially by the Ministry of Housing, under the Economic Stimulus Program, how many of those markets have followed the provisions of 187 of the Constitution? And in the absence of that, Mr. Speaker, is somebody at the national government liable for an offense of misuse or misallocation of public resources? Mr. Speaker, I am not opposed to the development of markets in any corner of the country, but Mr. Speaker, it must be clear to the national government that markets are a devolved function, and if they want to undertake those functions, Mr. Speaker, then they should invoke the provisions of 187. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, that the national government must never forget that under Part 1 of the fourth schedule, they have a responsibility to build capacity and provide technical assistance to the counties. Mr. Speaker, perhaps building capacity and providing technical assistance does not open any avenues for exchange of any funds. But Mr. Speaker, it is a responsibility assigned to the national government by the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the report.
Senator Kongo Mogeni. Use the mic next to you. That one is already on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the Committee for Devolution for the visitation they did to the county of Bungoma. How I wish, Mr. Speaker, that this committee had also diverted a bit to my county of Nyamira in Nyansiongo. Mr. Speaker, the government at times puts us in a lot of difficulty, Mr. Speaker. If you read the Constitution in black and white, markets is a devolved functions of our counties. But at times, Mr. Speaker, national government takes over, makes promises, Mr. Speaker, but never delivers. Mr. Speaker, you are my neighbor from the county of Bomet. In March 2023, the president was at Nyansiongo Market, Mr. Speaker. He made promises to the people of Nyansiongo, Mr. Speaker, and said he's going to ensure that Nyansiongo Market will be completed. He promised that within a month, Cabro will be fixed in that market. He said within a month, water will be connected to that market. He said within 1 month, electricity will be connected. Mr. Speaker,
If you follow news, 3 weeks ago, we lost 8 lives, Mr. Speaker, because the traders were selling their merchandise along the road. Because that market has not been completed, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I thought that will even provoke the government to take urgent steps, Mr. Speaker, to complete that market. You know, Mr. Speaker, how do people take us, Mr. Speaker, when we as leaders at that level, you come, you make promises to people, Mr. Speaker, you don't fulfill those promises. 8 lives are lost in one accident. 8, Mr. Speaker. And we don't get any response from the government. Mr. Speaker, we were in this house. The record can bear me witness. CS Chirichir, CS Roads was in this house. Mr. Speaker, when I drew his attention to that accident, he said, I'm going to act. And I'll erect bumps along that stretch, down from Sotik, and the other one that comes from the Keroka side. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, the people of Nyansiongo have not seen any intervention from the CS Roads. How do the people look at their government, Mr. Speaker? If we can make promises in the August House, Mr. Speaker, that is...
Senator Okongo Mogeni, the time is up. I know they've been listening and they'll act accordingly. I believe so. But then for purposes of your continuation of comments on this motion, you will have 17 minutes when the House resumes to conclude on your comments to the motion. Now, Honorable Senators, it's now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 31st of July, 2025 at 2:30 p.m.